Hello and welcome to Griefers Pub. This episode, Will Star Citizen Feel Too Casual, will be available on YouTube, Spotify later this week. Today, we'll be discussing 3.23's latest features and whether it's making the game feel too arcadey and casual with our special guest, ExpatBrat. Welcome, ExpatBrat.
Welcome everybody. How's it going?
What's going on? Welcome.
I was going to say, ExpatBrat, can you give us like a little bit of a brief history on your path as a content creator and where it's kind of taking you?
I guess it all starts back in the good old times of COVID, when we were all locked down. So I work as a cinematographer and photographer over here in Dubai, and I basically had no work or anything because we were all in lockdown, and I had I was always a gamer from the very beginning, and I had all this camera equipment and all that kind of stuff going to waste. So I decided, let's give this whole stream thing a try. But I gave myself a bit of a challenge, and I said, you know what, I don't want to pay any money to stream, right? So how do I stream without costing myself anything? So I slowly taught myself OBS and the microphones and the whole thing. And I was an Xbox gamer at the time. I didn't have a PC, so I started playing some. I was already a big Sea of Thieves gamer, so I started streaming some Sea of Thieves with my friends, because we were pretty much all in the situation where we kept on getting into fun and exciting scenarios, and we were always like, oh my God, if only people could have seen it. And I was like, well, yeah, why don't we stream it? We can stream on Twitch. And they were like, oh, okay. I was like, okay. Well, and then I got everything set up, and then I became a bit of a streamer. Just like
Wait a minute. So you had all this camera equipment and stuff like that, but it wasn't for streaming.
Oh no! I mean, I was shooting corporate videos and TV commercials, and I mean, we're talking like like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment, lights, everything that's sitting there doing nothing.
Did you start using it for streaming at some point?
No, I mean, like, never in the past. So I literally just kind of cobbled together my tripod over the top of my monitor, and I had I think a $12,000 camera with like a $2,000 lens pointed at my face.
Well, that's what I was gonna joke about, because it's like, now you're not using it anyway.
So yeah, I know.
Now I understand why she didn't want to. She challenged herself not to spend any money. She already had it wrapped up in all the equipment.
I know, right? I know, right? It's like such a first world problem. Like, and such a oh, I'm not gonna spend any money on my stream setup. Not at all. I didn't spend a single dime, guy. And you know what? What's so patronizing is I used to tell people that. I used to say, guys, everyone can stream. Anyone can stream. I never paid a dime to stream, and there's me sitting in front of this like $15,000
super expensive
camera.
Yeah. First world problems.
So with that, were there any like challenges with trying to figure out like the Star Citizen? Like every time I see your streams, you're always doing like very cinematic, scenes and such. Are there any challenges behind that? Whether it be like during PvP, PvE, just kind of curious what you have to put up with or deal with to get to this point.
Well, I think basically in the very beginning of my Star Citizen journey, I was just kind of going through the menu, and I saw this. I think it's called VoIP camera or something, and it's basically that selfie camera that like is attached to the front of your head, and so very early on, I kind of like got to just. I didn't do the face moving and all that kind of stuff, but like very early on, I started just like kind of like putting the camera on my face, and then so that kind of evolved to me kind of being a bit of a goofball, and it started with me walking around Star Citizen going ooh ah, look at this, okay, wow, okay, I'm crashing my ship, ooh ah, right, and then it evolved into like kind of me jokingly breaking the fourth wall and becoming a little bit of a character in situations, and like, you know, for Stanton, I shall, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And and it just kind of slowly evolved. It's hard to say if I had really any issues. I think the third day, the biggest issue I ever had with Star Citizen, I think, was my third day playing Meltdown, right? And Library Science and Space Ghost and the guys, I'm sure you're very familiar with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
They basically had to have a talk with me in, I think we were in Port Tressler, and I was basically saying, the whole thing's a scam. It's all just designed to take photographs. Nothing works. I tried to do 5 missions today. I lost everything. I went here and my ship blew up. I was flying over Daymar and my ship blew up. Like, what the hell is this thing? Why are they even charging this much money for a ship if you can't even fly them? What do you mean it's not going to come for like another 10 more years? Right? And I was freaking out. Okay. Now,
Sounds like the typical first experience.
Yeah, I feel like we can all identify with that.
yeah. So like day 3, I'm sitting there like having a meltdown, and they're like consoling me and saying like, no, but you don't understand. It's good. Like, you're right. Like, obviously everything you're saying is right, but at the same time, you just play it anyway. And I was like, what do you mean? You just like accept it and play? They're like, yes. But you don't wish to achieve anything. You just have fun. Embrace the jank. And I was like,
this is fun.
oh. So when my ship blows up and I lose all my progress that I made for the last 3 hours, I just go, fudge it and move on. And they were like,
Yeah, I'm having fun.
fudge it. You're having fun.
I don't feel like I know who you're talking about. I don't feel like they'd be quite as eloquent as putting it.
No.
Yeah.
No. I was getting verbally slapped around as well. But at the same time, it was just one of these really good conversations where, you know, I openly just melted down about Star Citizen, and then I realized like, oh, so I just play this without trying to achieve a damn thing, and I'll have a good time. And they're like, yeah, like, I mean, just do what you can do, test what you can test, and if it doesn't work, do something else. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, whatever you do, don't buy any ships. And I was like, oh,
Too late.
okay, I won't buy
Yeah. I know. I've never spent any
2
extra money
years
on
later.
any game. Yeah.
Never.
And then this
Nope.
game got me. I actually bought ship skins.
Oh,
I never buy
yeah.
skins for anything. But the Solar Winds paint for and then I get the Talon paint as well. Oh, damn it. They got me.
Yeah, the Solar Winds one is really good. But you know, I used to say, like, when I discovered like the camera tools and the flying around the ship, and then when I discovered that I could have a player camera, and then one day somebody came in the stream and said, hey, you should see this video that this guy made. And I was like, oh, what video? And they were like, oh, it's like how to do the VoIP. And literally I played 2 seconds of the video and the guy's face was moving. And then I stopped the video and I went straight into the settings and I went straight to, like, you know, my face, and I was like, oh my
Game changer.
God. Game changer.
Yeah.
I am going to be in Star Citizen. ExpatBrat, UEE advocate. Ba, ba, da, 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 ba, ba, ba.
With the Viper shades and all.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the best part is the fact that the shades stick no matter if you die or not. Or did they change that?
No, they still stay. Magic shades.
Yeah, good.
Magic shades. I always look cool, no matter what I do.
So I've never
It's
seen
a
one
rule.
of
Just laid on
that.
the
I think the first time
It's a
I ever
rule.
watched your channel, you were doing the role playing as like UEE personnel, and I thought it was one of the coolest things ever. So that was really, really neat.
Right? Oh
Yeah.
my God. People used to love when I, you know, like, I have a fun time when I like go into the bunkers, you know. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, the Nine
All right.
Tails have taken over another bunker. And then down I go, and then the music starts, and the camera goes behind me, and in we go, and it's like bum ba ba bum ba bum ba ba da da ba 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 da, and we're you know, don't worry, and like literally the AI is complete brain dead nothingness, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God, look, he's so shocked he can't even move, you know. You know?
So I was warned. I
But
was warned by librarian and stuff not to expect much from being in a party with you because, like, they'll be in clearing the bunker and you'll be walking, talking to the camera.
I know, I know. I've got a funny story about that actually. Like,
Yeah,
it was
I remember that.
it was actually the one time, that Star Citizen Live raided the channel, right? And
Mhm.
Oh
basically,
wow.
um, I had decided that I was going to escape Clesure, right? So I was in Clesure
Yep.
for whatever reason, not an illegal reason. Star Citizen did it to me, as it always does. And so the guys were like, "Oh, you should do a prison escape." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, let's do a prison escape. No problem. I'll get it first time." Oh my God. Right? So Star Citizen Lives raids into the channel, and there's me in prison, you know, looking at my prison sentence, and it says like 3 hours, and I'm walking around going, "Oh my God, 3 hours of my life. I'm never gonna get it back. What? Maybe by the time I get released, the game will also be released. 3 hours,
Mhm.
right?" And
Yep.
so I start the prison escape, and I tried once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And of course, I've now got like 400 people in the chat, all like going, "Come on, you can do it, you can do it." And I keep dying. But what I didn't know, right? What I didn't know, that outside the prison, okay, for like 5 to 6 hours of their lives was Library Science, Space Ghost, Deeping, Board Thor, the
All
whole
waiting.
lot of them, all waiting for this epic rescue moment. And I finally managed to get through that little hole, and down came a terrapin, you know, like into the little circular bit. You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
down came a terrapin into the circular bit, and it was just this amazingly epic moment. All the people in chat are like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" And I jump into the terrapin. And I'm laying there like, "Go, go, go!" And they were all like, "Special Agent Brat, it's Space Ghost was flying the terrapin, and it was like, Special Agent Brat, we're here to rescue you." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is so
Oh,
cool!"
they
And then
did
they
it.
took me. Yeah, they took me to like an Ursa rover, and then I transitioned into the Ursa rover, and they drove me to the bunker, and all this is happening, and I've got no idea that this is going to happen. Like all this is just happening in front of me, and it was the most epic prison escape. It just took like 8 hours, and then after the fact, I was like, "Guys, that was really good timing, right?" Thinking like, "Oh yeah, really good timing. They just showed up at just the right time," and they were like, "We were waiting for 7 hours." And I was like, "Oh
Oh,
God, I'm so sorry."
good timing for me.
I know,
Right. It's funny. I
but
just I
that's
gotta
the stuff that
reminisce
happens
too.
in the background.
There was a couple of times too where she joined us in Jump Town, and we were all like in our battles and stuff, and like I go over and look at her stream and she's like, "No," and like being ultra dramatic in a fight and like a Connie or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is that like, yeah, the game is janky. The game can be broken. You know, sometimes you don't get anything done. But I mean, I pretty much learned early on to like just break the fourth wall completely and
Hmm.
just look at the chat and go like, you know, either make up some fun thing as to a reason why, you know, things are happening the way they're happening, or just speak to people. I mean, now I'm a lot less. Now I'm a lot less kind of RP than I used to be, but then I do have my crazy moments. I mean, today I managed to capture one of the Copion dogs, and
Yeah.
I was hiding on the top of my Connie piano, trying to stop it from biting me. I mean, you
And
know,
then you played it a
shit happens.
song. I saw
And
that.
then I played a song. I played a song on the piano, And I think it almost worked. It definitely almost worked.
Oh, that's great.
So, with that being said, I think we should get into our topic. I think the
Sure.
first thing we're going to talk about is, so we've all been able to get access to EPTU, correct? Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So after playing for a little while in 3.23, what are your first impressions of the latest update?
Well, I mean, the latest update. I mean, I guess they've started to scale back the UI a little bit. I think the initial implementation, at least the one that they showed us, was, I felt like it quite cartoony, very
Yeah.
big and bold and in your face compared to the one we had before, which was
Yeah.
quite
Mhm.
subtle. And
Yeah.
and the one we had before did actually appear like it could have been on your visor. It was kind of like slightly in the middle of the screen, like it could have been on the glass. And then they put it like far to the bottom left and right. I mean, there's definitely some better information there as far as like some of the information you want to glean like during your gameplay. But I think some of the presentation, I think in general 3.23, it's a bit of a visual juxtaposition from, like, we're in super realistic looking space stations, spaceships
Oh yeah.
and cockpits with
Yep.
all the buttons and the lights, and then we get like these really like World of Warcraft like cartoony UI elements
Yeah.
like plastered
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
top,
very
and
arcadey.
it creates this kind of like, okay, yeah, you're presenting me with a lot of information, and this information is potentially useful, but it doesn't visually seem to fit the game you're making. I mean,
Well,
look, I'm standing here in my armor with like,
Mhm.
cinematic lighting and cool shades on and like
which took a little while to
flares
set up
coming,
the lighting.
like it's like this is how realistic the game can look, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think they should really embrace that as much as possible. You know,
I think
functionality, but at the same time, something that still kind of leans into the hardcore.
well,
Yeah.
I feel like part of it too is that it went from one extreme to the other, right? So it
Yeah,
was everything was just too small, hard, difficult to see. It was very janky. And then it was like they were like, oh, they can't see, so they went like the total opposite way and made things way too
yeah.
bold and way too visible and just way too in your face. Right? There was no
Yeah.
like transition period into it or something. And that's kind of like one of the things I always complain about is the fact that there needs to be more of a a incremental change to changes. Like I know like the big changes like the map is welcome, stuff like that, but like does need to be like gradual changes in a good direction as opposed to just like throw you off a cliff. And that's what I feel
Well,
like
the
they
thing
did.
is that a lot of people keep coming into the chat, and I understand why they get this impression, right? But they keep telling me, "Oh, it's just a placeholder. It's just temporary. This is just a placeholder,"
Yeah,
or
well,
those were just placeholders. Those were just placeholders. And you know what? Sometimes like what if a placeholder actually did the job? What if the placeholder actually like you what if you accidentally made a decent looking game in the beginning? What if you accidentally made a good UI in the beginning? What if you accidentally made a decent interaction method in the beginning? And and now it feels like some of the changes, like like you say, they just go way off the other end.
mm,
It's like, well, are they going to find their way somewhere in the middle
yeah,
I
eventually?
think
I
yeah.
don't know, right?
I think that comes with the territory of having a game that's being developed over a very long period of time. So while I still blame them, I can also see why they do it too. But yeah, they seem like they either completely miss the mark or they'll nail it on like part of the fix.
I'd actually be
Yeah.
curious
Right.
about how much of that is due to the fact that there is some turnover at CIG on occasion with these, art teams. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it's because
Yeah.
you have a new team with, new visions in mind. I'm personally in the camp where less is more, minimal is kind of my thing. I really like the consistencies that we currently have in the verse. And with the I don't know. With a lot of the things that we've seen in EPTU, I don't get that impression. Like you said, it's very cartoonish, very in your face, and no subtlety whatsoever. If there was a
Yeah.
way to scale it or even change the color so it kind of, fit the rest of the actual HUD, I'd be all for it. I come from like a Daisy and Tarkov background, so if I can shut it off, even better.
I can't see
Yeah.
shit out of this thing.
Pretty
Well,
much.
so I will say this though on my end, there are things I definitely appreciate, and then there's like these small issues
Yep.
like party markers obstructing the target or the pip, right? But those are like small things that like yeah, you go along and you make corrections as you go along, right? It's like they may
Yeah.
miss it when they're developing it, and then people make inquiries about it, and it gets corrected. So that's understandable. But again, like these huge leaps and changes. I think that was one of the issues with master modes too. Is it was such a dramatic change, and it's like, okay, this is we're releasing it 323 period, and everyone's like panicking, right? So
Yeah.
it's those dramatic changes that can be really a shock, you know?
Well, just to provide like a little bit of context, right? And the other day I brought my after finishing up in Star Citizen and showing them some of the FPS changes that have been made. And bear in mind that they've okay. Let me contextualize this with saying what I think is happening. Okay, what I think is happening is that a bunch of designers have come over from Squadron 42, as we know, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Squadron 42, the single player, easily accessible to all, first person, story driven, um, on rails, Wing Commander
yeah,
sequel, right? That a lot of people wanted, and I played the Wing Commander games. I love them. So there's that, right? Those people have come along, and I think they're trying to. Um, I don't know if they're trying to save themselves some time, right, by doing this, but I think they're trying to unify the interface, the mechanics, the map, the UI, the way the game works, as much as possible to match Squadron 42,
yeah.
because I think they're expecting like people to play Squadron 42 and then immediately jump into the PU and then feel at home, right?
I
To
agree.
feel at
Yeah,
home in here. Okay?
that's exactly. I
But
think. Yeah,
in my opinion, they need to treat Star Citizen separate from Squadron 42 in
Yep.
a fundamental way that the game works, okay? Because it's a multiplayer scenario, it's a potentially competitive multiplayer scenario. There are
Hmm.
there are situations where you're going to be in PvP. It's going to be win or lose. It's going to be you versus them, and it's as a hardcore shooter fan like myself, as in I like Ready or Not, I like Squad, I like Hell Let Loose, and the reason why I like those games is because you might really suck at them in the beginning, right? But as you become more skilled, talented at those games, they've got a huge depth of skill. It's a huge depth of skill
yeah,
that eventually you will be good at it, right?
yeah.
But you'll feel every kill, every time you shoot the gun and you get the headshot or something. There's a different feeling, not knowing who's around the corner. There's
Hmm.
no X-ray vision. There's no crosshair in the middle of the screen. There's no mini map to rely on. There's no, it's all teamwork, communication, and true immersion inside the world to achieve your goal and to achieve the target. And although Star Citizen should be accessible to everybody, I think it's a lot to ask for the whole player base to just accept um, the the difficulty limit. Like,
Yeah.
like, why are you throwing us all into easy
Well,
mode?
so there
You
should be
know?
a easy entry level, but a large amount of room for growth, right?
Well, I think
It,
that should be based on where people spawn in, right? So if you spawn
yeah,
in the
true.
Stanton system nearby your hab area,
Hmm.
right, and you get the first bunker missions, the first bunker missions are going to be a lot easier. They're going to be more protected by police and security and things,
Yeah,
you know. And slowly, slowly, they're going to ease you into what is, eventually pyro, where it's like this ruthless environment where you where eventually you you are relying on, you don't have help from the NPCs. You don't have help from the AI as much. And, you're very much, in it to win it by yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it concerns me that we've suddenly taken this kind of Call of Duty-like first-person turn
Yeah.
before we've even tried to see if people can handle it. Look, Gray Zone Warfare, extremely popular recently, right?
Yeah.
Tarkov, huge hit. And Tarkov's currently dealing with a big problem at the moment. Okay?
Man,
So
yeah.
there's going to be openings in the future for not hardcore. I mean, Star Citizen's not going to be hardcore. You're going to have armor. You're going to be able to take a few more shots. You're going to have shields on your ships and stuff. It's not going to be super hardcore, but there is room for a tactical, more simulation experience out there, and I think there's enough people that will want to play that.
Well, here's my thing too. So I understand like trying to make it accessible for everybody, but the way I see it is that they've had a very huge amount of success with what they've been doing with very little publicity considering, right? So, and it does have, I think, a rather large skill ceiling, or it did, right? And if they start like pulling that down to try to make it seem more friendly for everyone, I don't understand why it wouldn't be considered, well, if it's been successful without actually like having all this extra publicity, that ad space and all this stuff that will go out there when Squadron 42 comes out. Why would they think that it's not going to continue being successful only on a larger scale using that kind of model of having a very high scale ceiling? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll let someone else chime in. So I've been yapping my little yappy mouth off.
No, I'm
Another one, she
completely
needs to
in
take a
this.
drink.
I'm in the same boat where I feel like lowering the skills ceiling does kind of defeat the idea of having, skills learned at the end of the game. It's going to be more loot driven as opposed to, trying to learn how to actually fly, tricord, bicord, whatever it might be in the future. And what is going to keep players that are competitive around in the verse if that's the case? That's my
Exactly.
concern, is the retention. If you have a reason
Yeah.
to be competitive against other orgs,
I yeah.
that's going to keep me around.
I
But
mean, from
yeah,
all levels, really, you want that for retention anyway, because when you have to put effort into growing in something, right, you start to feel attached to it, and it really creates a longevity in gameplay,
it does. Yeah, 100%.
So I think that's
It
Well,
brings
I
more
important.
mean,
value.
it's called a skill ceiling for a reason, right? There's like a
Mhm.
ladder, like a skill ladder, that you
Hmm.
want to climb. And if they're taking a lot of that away from you now, sure, we haven't seen what hacking can do. A lot of people are saying like, yeah, but the X-ray vision and the mini map and everything, it's not going to help you because somebody's going to be wearing like a stealth suit, and that's going to bring depth to gameplay, and then maybe somebody's going to be hacking, so they're going to hack your ability to be able to see through walls and all this kind of look. If that's the case, then it's less concerning. But I mean, sliding along the floor, X-ray vision into, crosshair. Look, the crosshair that they developed is very clever. Like, it's a very clever system, right? But I went to one of these outposts, and yeah, sure, right now the AI is kind of brain dead, so it's difficult to test, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, it's
I
gotten
mean,
better.
I was just walking around with my crosshair, just like nailing dudes in the face, and it just, like twitching left to right with my, like it's like really like, you twitch left, you twitch right, you twitch left with your like your crosshair, and it
Yeah.
just it just didn't feel as immersive. It didn't feel as engaging anymore. I mean, like, and the thing is, the way I look at it is, a lot of people come into the chat and they say, "Oh, why are you complaining? You can just turn the crosshair off." And I'm like, "Sorry, I know. That's what they sound like in my head. I'm so sorry, people. I don't mean to offend.
Don't
But
apologize. I
like,
think
That's
why don't
that's
exactly
what
you
a
how
lot
they
of us feel,
sound.
though. Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
That's
but
what we're here
why don't you
for.
just turn why don't you turn the crosshair off?" And I say, "Well, that's suicide. Like in a
yeah,
player versus
because
player
you lose a
environment, it's
competitive. Yeah.
suicide for me to turn off things
and it's a
that
game
will
where there's
clearly give me an advantage.
yeah,
You
it's a
know,
game where you will encounter PvP whether you like it or not at some point, right? So you don't want to lose that advantage.
yeah, I don't want to lose the advantage, and for the sake of my immersion, right? And
I
of
love
course,
my immersion.
some people say, well, you know, it's future soldiers. Look at the tech we have today. We have all this tech now, and you'll be able to do this and you'll do that. Look, we, you know, we've got space magic. We don't necessarily have to. We don't necessarily have to equate everything to what we have in today's ships and today's, you know, aircraft and everything. Some things do apply, but at the same time, it's about gameplay. It's about gameplay, and it's about skill, and it's about depth in gameplay, and it's about, you know, this guy being better than you are, and I don't know. It's a difficult one to work out because some people are really going to want the crosshair. They're really going to want the minimap. They're really going to want the X-ray vision and stuff, and that might be the only way that they're able to, you know, access this. But I do feel like there's a good number of people out there that still want this to be, or potentially this still to be more on the side of simulation, or more that the gameplay is more deep than that. That it's a bit more hardcore. It's not Call of Duty. It's maybe we can get to like a more of a Rainbow Six Siege kind of thing where, like, you know, you do have counters and you know, you have yin and yang in every game style and every gameplay, but it's still got depth, you know?
Yeah, I think there needs to be that balance. But you could, I don't know. I mean, I'm not against like the dynamic crosshairs. I
was going to say that actually brings up a question. Does it feel like the quality of life improvement could be seen as too much of a compromise when gameplay elements seem to lower the skill ceiling as they have? I know we've already talked about that, but it kind of feels like you were saying, I'm sorry, go ahead, Expat, let's hear it.
No. Finish.
No, I was going to say, like, you had brought up how things that don't necessarily work for the PU, like the PU and Squadron 42 should be two different platforms for a reason. Even though they have all these really cool features, do they really work in this, you know, format? More or less, right?
Well, I just think it's like take the inventory system, for example. We're starting to see these kiosks appear everywhere. Everywhere you see a kiosk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah, they look ridiculous.
It's killing me.
Yeah,
right? It's killing me.
And you can tell they were just plopped in there.
They were
There are
just thrown in
kiosk
there.
here, kiosk there. Let's
Kiosk-
just throw
kiosk for
kiosks
everyone.
everywhere. Yeah.
Way too
Now-
much of a shortcut.
Oprah came through, was like kiosk
Yeah.
for everyone.
Now, I can, my way of looking at it, right, is that they want to, and I watched the Cargo guy talk about the developer from Cargo, and he seems like a really good dude, and he was talking about Star Citizen wanting to be more of a simulation, but they're talking about it wanting to be a simulation, and yet they're showing us other stuff,
Arcade.
right? They're talking about one direction and they're giving us another, right?
Yeah.
So it's very confusing, and of course it's not finished, so it's hard to comment on any of this stuff. But it does look like they're going in the wrong direction when their mouths are saying one thing and they're doing another, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the
very
kiosk
inconsistent.
system,
Nailed it.
they're talking about not having an inventory anymore, like a magic inventory that pops up in your face, right? Okay,
yeah.
fine. You have your gear collection in your hab. You have the gear collection when you spawn in at the med bay, okay? And then you have your hangar where you spawn the gear. And we've also got, like, for instance, in the gallery, the gallerias, you've got like the locker area. And you could access your inventory there, why not? And it still looks like it's part of the world, okay? We've got hot dog stands where you buy hot dogs. You've got the medical area where you get healed. You've got the Crusader Experience Center where you can go there and learn all about Crusader Industries and buy merch at the shop. Like, I like the idea of gameplay being integrated into the world in a way that feels realistic, right? They've gone to all this effort and all this trouble to make it look a certain way. And then they come up with this game mechanic where they want to us all to physically carry our inventory. But again, it looks like they're scared. They're scared to implement it fully, right? In a like they talk about it being a hardcore experience or whatever, that now you're really gonna have to think about what you take. No, you just wear a backpack. You spawn in the hab, you wear a backpack. If you go to the shop and you buy a drink or you buy a Whammers, then you put the hamburger in your backpack and you take it to the hangar. That's not any more hardcore, but they've put kiosks in the Whammers. They've put kiosks in the next to every shop. They've put kiosks next to the security area. They put kiosks
Realism at its best.
next to the ASOP. So if your physicalized inventory only works if you have access to the inventory everywhere you go, then you've got a problem with your system.
Yeah.
Yep,
Can
pretty
I
much.
just read? I just want to
Or
read this.
you're too scared.
If I could just read this quote from chat. It was Ferris 8, I guess, or Ferk 8. We'll try to be as real as possible, but we always have to take it back to the point of fun. We are not aiming for realism. We are aiming for believability and enjoyment. And that's a quote from Yogi Klatt, senior gameplay programmer.
Yeah.
Look, I think it can still be enjoyable, okay? But you have to go all the way with the implementation, right? You cannot get scared before you implement something. You have to go as hardcore or as realistic as you can, right? And then find out if it's fun. Okay?
Yep.
If it's not fun, then you start finding ways of making it more fun. And then if then it still isn't fun, then maybe the whole system doesn't work. Okay?
I find it fun. The realism is fun to me. So if I literally
find it fun.
and if I literally had to, and people, I don't know if I'll get, because I'm a PvP or griefer, right? But I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but if I literally had to go to where I left my items to get them, and that was the way it was, I would be okay with that, right? I would just prepare better.
Yeah,
I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Elders of
Well, that's how
PvP.
it is when you're out in the verse.
What's that?
That's how it is. That's how it is when you're out in the verse, right? You lose your body, and as long as it doesn't fall to the center of the planet, you go and get your stuff back, right? You want your stuff back, you go get your stuff back. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're in the space station. Okay. I don't know why there's a kiosk right outside the hot dog stand, because you're going to go there, buy like a double dog, and go straight to the kiosk and put it in your inventory. Go back, buy another double dog, go to the kiosk, put it straight in your inventory, buy another double dog, go to the kiosk, come on, guys. This is not...
I like that your character animation looked around just perfect. Come on, guys. The timing could have been better.
But the thing is that they build these beautiful like I freaked out on stream. I freaked out on stream because I keep referencing the Crusader Experience Center as the moment where I knew that Star Citizen was this amazing experience, right? Or had this amazing potential, was when I walked into the Crusader Experience Center and I realized, oh my God, they built a place for you to come and buy souvenirs and some drinks, okay? But they didn't just make it like a drinks and souvenir kiosk. They actually made a shop, and there's a guy behind the store, and there's screens everywhere, and there's models of ships. And I was like, holy shit, this feels like if you went to a museum and you went to the gift shop. Whoever that CIG is, whoever those guys are, I want them to finish that game, right? Go all the way
100%.
with that game. You know what I'm saying? And then suddenly I freaked out on stream because in that same area, they put 70 kiosks. And I was like, wait a minute, you're trying to, you don't want this magic inventory, and yet you're putting this magic inventory everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Decide what game you're making.
Well, okay. So
Right?
my question about
Exactly.
that though is that just a temporary thing while they're working in the system, and are they going to remove some of that? What's going to be the direction with those magic kiosks?
That's a really good question.
Because I don't know. That's the thing, because everything's a placeholder right now. Literally everything is a placeholder. The flight model.
But everyone keeps telling me that. People were telling me the kiosks are not going to stay. Those kiosks are obviously not going to stay. Look, they're a placeholder. They're a placeholder. The placeholder. You know how I proved that they're not moving anywhere? I went into Kelto RX, in Orison, okay? In the Stratus Mall, one of my favorite places to go ever. If you're ever shopping in Stratus Mall, make sure you use code ExpatBrat at all the places. You'll get a discount, by the way, guys. Stratus Mall's amazing.
I'm just gonna say,
okay.
please use the Griefers Pub code instead. I'm sorry, expat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Hey,
Well, anyway, it's been good.
Sorry,
Let's see you
branding. Sorry,
later.
branding. We're talking
Goodbye.
branding, so just got to
We
throw that
agreed.
out there, right?
So I went into the Kelto RX, and where they once had a fridge that had all the food in it, right in the corner, they took the fridge away, right, and then they put 2 kiosks, not kiosks that just fit into the wall, all nice and neat. They took them away and they placed kiosks. So when they're taking stuff away to place kiosks, I'm like,
Oh yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Oh, we're redesigning locations for these now. Oh no.
Not the
You
fridge.
know?
I love that fridge.
I was thinking
Not
the
the
gumdrop
fridge.
buttons the whole time. Not my fridge.
But yeah, people are saying like, oh, these are just temporary. It's like wait a minute. In some places, I mean, for example, one of the craziest places they put a bunch of kiosks, right? And I don't know if it's an algorithm or if it's actually something that's placing them, but I went into the Galleria in Port Tressler, okay? You know the Galleria where you got the hot dogs, you got the pizza you can't eat, you got the noodles you can't buy, you know, those fun places. There's kiosks everywhere, next to where people sit, next to the Elroys, next to covering the water fountains as you're going up the staircases.
Yeah.
You know, the decorative water fountains, you know, that are decorative because decoration is quite nice to look at when you're playing a video game, right? And there would be decoration there. Kiosks, right? And I'm like, oh my God, right? They're
almost-
doing it. They're taking
Almost like
they're
an
taking
episode
this
of like Black
incredible
Mirror.
design.
You know,
Yes,
you know,
it is like Black
it's
Mirror. We're
crazy.
going to
It's
be surrounded by
dystopian.
these
It's just
damn
like
kiosks.
eventually all the players will be kiosks too. Where does it start? Where does it end?
Where
you
does
know?
it end?
Oh, we were having a really good laugh that the kiosks were chasing me. The kiosks,
Wait, hold on.
Expat, the kiosks are behind you. They're on your ship.
Assassination mission. Exterminate kiosks.
Yeah,
Kiosk citizen.
kiosk citizen.
Oh, that's
You know,
funny.
and you know what's the worst is that they're called gear storage. I mean, what a way to tell a gamer. What a way to tell a gamer where to get their gamer gear at the gear storage, guys. Where, oh my, you know, like they couldn't figure out how to go to the medical bay and get their medicine. Like they couldn't figure out how to go to the hot dog stands to get their hot
They're
dog.
hot dogs.
Now they need to go to the gear kiosk to get their gear. You know, it's such a it's just such a juxtaposition between one version of the game. Like you can see the two versions clashing now, right? You can see
Yeah.
Squadron, the single player arcade, and you can see Star Citizen, the more realistic, immersive experience, and you can see it clashing now, right? And I don't know if they're going to try and blend it as we go on, or if they're going to take, you know, because we're talking about the kiosks and everything, but everything else just seems like an easy way out to me.
I mean, I think they are
Right.
going to try to blend it. So, and one of the things was they're taking a lot of the stuff from Squadron 42 and putting it into Star Citizen, and it's supposed to be in the same universe, right, and everything. So it's the same storyline. So I guess they really just like, okay. One of the things that drove me crazy, right, was that like I would see things about like, you know, NPC animation and then they would talk about how they want the NPCs to be living, breathing NPCs, but who actually cares after they go through the damn door? Let them go through the door. I don't care if they go to sleep. I don't like, what does that matter? You know what I mean?
That NPC
Like-
has a story though.
Yeah,
That's the
well, like, do they have the NPCs have the mind to go home and take care of their child? You know, and you're not seeing any of that, and it's probably eating up your damn, your damn processing power. You know,
Listen, Jimmy has a life too. Okay, listen, he used to have a job standing on chairs 24/7 in Lauraville. Okay, just to feed his family. Okay.
okay.
Now look, I understand that maybe, look, I'm more than happy to I'm more than happy to give way to gameplay. Okay, I'm not saying that any of my suggestions or any of the people that are interested in having a more immersive experience and a more challenging experience, I'm not saying that we want to take away gameplay. I just want to, I'm just hoping that the type of gameplay that you don't get in your Mobi-Glass, that you don't get from accepting a mission, is still there. And that's the gameplay of just walking around and discovering, walking around and being immersed. Like, there's gameplay in that too. Okay? There's gameplay in simply walking around and, seeing an NPC going about their business, and, maybe you get like a mission and it doesn't tell you exactly where to go, but it tells you everything you need to know so that you can calculate for yourself where you're going to go for that mission. I'm talking about, you still have the same gameplay elements. You just don't have a massive quest marker above it that tells you exactly where to go and what box to pick up and where to take the box and what thing to put the box in, and then you click on the box and then it says box. Is there any way that we
where I
can
hold your hand through all of it?
hand holding?
I think the fear is that we don't want it to become like mindless and mundane, and going that route with stuff like that is exactly what a game will turn into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, how could CIG like balance between creating a new player friendly environment while still allowing room for players to learn on their own, less hand holding? Is there anything that you would do different? Just kind of curious.
She would get rid of
Well,
the
I mean,
kiosks.
Oh, the kiosks
yeah.
first, obviously first.
The kiosks are
But-
everything. They are Skynet.
They're following me. Oh shit! Is there a kiosk behind me now, guys? Is there a kiosk?
I
behind
bet
me?
you there is.
So basically, we have a new player experience. Okay,
Mhm.
the new player experience, the incredible community of content creators that are on Twitch, pretty much 24/7. The content creators on YouTube, the people making the guides. Yes, ideally, everything should be available in game, right? The new player experience should have a tutorial for every type of mission, and you go and you do your tutorial, and you figure out, let's say that they want you to go and collect a box, right? The box should have a unique number. It should be, we want you to collect this box of Hadanite, and the box has this number on it. And then you go to the place and you find the box with a number on it, okay? And then you go and pick up the box, and then you go take it to the place. And what place do they tell you? They tell you to go to Port Tressler with it. Okay, so you go to Port Tressler, and you can, in the new player experience, you can have all the markers and you can have all the exact stuff and the quest markers and where do I go and what do I do. And then once you've done it a couple of times, then maybe they take the training wheels off, and they say, okay, you should be good now. Good luck, citizen. Go earn your citizenship. Right?
Literally.
Yeah, and I think for more complex tasks and learning, that starts to fall into the actual player base, where now people find their place within certain groups, and those groups start teaching them more of the complicated side of the gameplay, rather than, that's the way I would see it would make sense, right? You have the training wheels, you take the training wheels off, and if you want to get any more depth, you have to look to your peers, basically.
Yep.
You look for help. And the thing is that we're going to be talking about multi-crew gameplay as well. The thing is, right, this is where things get weird, okay, in my opinion, with Star Citizen, is that on the one hand, we're starting to get more, like, if you don't mind me saying, like a more arcadey flight model, okay?
Yep.
Which some people love, some people hate. Some people are kind of like me, I'm a little bit in the middle, where I think it just needs to be blended together better, so that that I don't get like magic space thrusters that slow me down more than my actual ship thrusters when I go in reverse mode. And then this magic mode that I hold the B button, and then all of a sudden I'm in this arena PvP combat mode, ready to fight. And magic thrusters slowed me down faster than my ship could manage, pulling like 33 Gs.
I think it was 48.
I didn't
or was it 62?
Yeah, 48 Gs.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, if they could figure out how to blend, that together a bit more believably. The thing is, like I said, we're looking at something that looks believable. We're looking at something that looks realistic. And then they're introducing features and flight models and things like that that feel arcade. And it causes you to go, "What? Wait a minute. What?" Like it doesn't make sense. If you took Tarkov, for example, and Tarkov looks super realistic and super hardcore, and then you put a mini map on Tarkov and stuff like, you know what I mean? You'd be a bit confused.
It wouldn't be
I
the
don't
same
know.
if it had like a mini map in it or something.
Yeah,
It's kind of
but
it's kind of turning into the Fast and Furious franchise. It was believable at first, it's not so much now.
Yeah, it just got more. It was almost believable at first, right? And then it got worse and
Okay.
worse. Yeah. And then before you know it, you had two chargers pulling a safe out of a wall and driving it around a damn city. You know,
yeah,
like it became
Yeah.
absolutely
Or car
ridiculous.
in space.
Yeah.
yeah,
Here's what I'd almost suggest is if they had a way to I know Elder, the first night you and I jumped into 3.23. When I saw that UI, you heard me like ranting for a good like hour or two because I was just not having it.
Well, you could just hear
But
that you were not happy.
yeah, yeah. So do you think if they added like a reactive HUD where if a certain attribute was affected, it would bring it up, kind of like it does now, that'd be much better? Or even like an option to keybind and toggle it on and off at your like own, heart's content, similar to like, global
Oh,
chat.
I see what you're saying.
Do you think that would actually like maybe be a little bit of a good compromise if you want to like remove some of the elemental HUDs? Otherwise, like you said, it does feel like a cluttered World of Warcraft MMO at that point.
I don't I man, I don't know how I feel about toggling things on and off, especially if they're going to be functional more than fashion. But I think there should be more of like and maybe that's what you were saying and I misunderstand, but I think there should be more of like, I don't want to say automatic modes,
Customization
but
maybe is the better word to use.
maybe customization and be a little bit better, but like you got to put a, for example, like a certain helmet on for certain things, which I know they've talked about, but even like in your ship, I think like
Yeah.
there should be different styles of HUDs that you can't really like, I guess, customize per se, but you can go with, hey, this one's a little bit more fighter oriented, this one's a little bit more data analyzing oriented, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it would
That's
depend
what
on
I
like
would
what,
prefer.
like, well, how would you determine? Like, would you flip the mode to have certain? I kind of like the idea of if there was like, I could have a customizable UI, right? Where if I know I'm about to get into a fight, like I could, select a key or something, and then that's like my fight mode. And these are the things that I like to see on my UI for when I'm going to
Mhm.
fight somebody in a ship. Something like that would be kind of cool. When you leave it to, like the AI to figure out when you're doing what you're doing, that's when you end up with I think a lot of jank and a lot of stuff that happens that you don't like to see. All right, so
So
that's how I feel.
So
Yeah,
to be
I
more
got you.
specific, pre, before you take off kind of thing, that's what I'm talking about. Like you actually choose what gear you're going to use because this is what you're planning for. This is what you're prepping for. They've always said that they want this game to be something that you have to prepare and you have to bring everything that you can to, address whatever circumstances you expect and don't expect. And so that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking more along the lines of. Now, I do like the idea that you could just have these modes that you could switch between and
Yeah.
have whatever HUD that you're really wanting or what's more viable at the moment.
Or even like say bringing up like a weapon, kind of like what it does now, would actually bring up the additional side HUD for the weapons, right? Or like checking the Moby glass maybe is the only way to check like certain critical hits to like medical. I don't know. I'm thinking the more you can like rely on animations for that kind of stuff, the more immersive it can be. I'm all about that kind
Well,
of thing personally.
wait. So when you say immersions, I'm sorry, immersions. When you
Immersion,
say
immersion.
when you say
Immersions.
animations, you mean like seeing them actually selecting to, like the animation of them doing it, for example in the ship cockpit, like I'm gonna switch it
Being able to like
combat
press an
mode.
actual button while you're doing it would be kind
Yeah,
of
I
neat.
think they
But
plan
I
on
can see
doing
that
stuff
being,
like that
yeah.
though.
Hmm.
By the way, I noticed expat.
Uh,
She went to her inventory. I didn't see a kiosk anywhere near her, so I don't know. My immersion's kind of broken.
I think she's safe for now.
That fresh
Hex-
taste of Cruise Lux.
Oh, it's an ad. All right.
This message is brought
Well,
to you by Cruise Light.
A cruise light.
In a
Oh,
store
that's
near you, sorry,
good.
in a kiosk near you. Literally
So,
near you.
Don't.
but is that the thought you had? You're saying like selecting on the cockpit dashboard or whatever, the MFD, flight combat mode, and the guy reaches out, selects that option, and that's like what you're gonna use. Is
I,
that what you're?
Perhaps, but I don't know. Coming
I,
from
I
like
think it would be.
yeah,
I think it'd be
yeah,
cooler if you literally. I mean, I showed you guys before stream that you actually have a helmet that you see your guy like reach up and touch like a button or something on his helmet, and like the HUD changes to something, more practical for your situation. I was gonna say earlier, I do. Sorry, it's over there actually, but I was gonna say that I agree with XBAT on one thing. I don't really like the whole toggling of features on and off at whim, whatever you want. Like if you go on the settings, I want to turn my crosshairs off, for example. I don't like that because that's a slippery slope of maybe you're going to start turning off or have the potential to turn off functional things that give you an edge in combat, just like she was saying. And I don't like that. I want everyone to be limited by the same um, functions, essentially.
Yeah,
And so to turn it off
everyone's on
just
the
for my
same
immersion,
level.
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So expert, you actually had a question, I think, for the guys. This one is regarding master modes, right? You were kind of
Oh,
curious about
sorry.
like what their take was. Yeah. Mhm.
Before we go there, I didn't get a chance to kind of go all the way down that rabbit hole I was going down, and it's a pretty good rabbit hole, and there is a
Let's
rabbit
hear
at
it
the
then.
end. I promise. Right. So, it was about the confusion, right? About like we're talking about like the gamification of Star Citizen and some of the things becoming like really gamified, right? Or
Yeah.
or some things feeling like they might be going that way. But then we look at their implementation of engineering, and it's the most unintuitive, complicated looking, moving fuses from here to there, and
Yeah, I was
you know,
talking about this
and
on
you just
the.
think, wait a minute, are these the same guys that are doing the crosshair in your face? These are the same guys that are like stripping out your HUD display when you're fighting to be like I don't even have an altimeter anymore that looks like an aircraft. Okay? Like I can't even figure out if I'm going up or down apart from looking at like a little number at the bottom right. Like, these are like wait a minute, why is one guy making like a super complex need a degree to figure out how to make engineering? Like okay, so my suggestion for engineering was, okay, there's a bunch of boxes around the ship. The boxes look like they're on fire and or are sparking. Okay, go take tractor beam, repair box. Okay, super simple. And we've got fuses, and there's a thing on I don't know. It just made no sense to me, and it looked super overcomplicated, like beyond simulation. Like we're gonna need a. I don't know how long this tutorial is gonna. I always think the way I always think about things in Star Citizen is how I'm gonna explain this to my mother, right? How do I explain this one to my mother? Okay, and she's never gonna get it. She's never going to get the engineering if they continue with the fuse system and all this kind of stuff. And somebody's just going to run on your fuse and take the fuse, and then all your stuff's gone. So how do we have such a difference in how some people are making things in the game versus other developers making other things in the game? It
Oh
doesn't.
yeah,
Like
there's no like cohesiveness between them.
Because
it's
it
not
feels like
cohesive.
there's
Yeah.
multiple studios at work here, and that breaks down the communication on a
Yeah.
different level entirely. That makes sense. But
Yeah, 'cause
it's
one's got
unfortunate
one
that there's
idea.
not someone overseeing these projects for consistency. There probably
Yeah.
is. It just feels like there isn't that communication at the moment, right?
Yeah,
I
it
don't
feels
I
like
want to say
we've
though
got islands of developers.
I want the engineering to be complicated. Like I want to see it where you're not just going to have any person. Like you want to be able to get the best engineer on your ship, right? And that
Yep,
gives you an
I'm
edge.
100% with you.
I want that. I don't
I
want
just
it
want
to
to
be like,
sabotage life support.
yeah, I don't want it to be going around and people are just like spraying it with putting out fires or whatever. Like I kind of like the idea of it being complicated,
Yeah, but see, this is where, okay, so this is where I think you've like we were talking about at the very beginning. There's one extreme, and then there's the other extreme, and you have to find that balance in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I agree.
So I think a good engineer is going to be able to communicate to the crew the best course of action and what to repair first, and what to
Yeah.
what to
That
turn
would be
off
part of it. Yeah.
to move power right to another place.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think we need the necessarily complex interaction with fuses and whatnot. Okay, so I play Sea of Thieves, okay, and I had a chat with Moist Noodle as well, and Sea of Thieves has such a good system because you've got a usable item, which is the plank. You have hole in your ship. You see hole in ship. You take plank. You slap plank on hole in ship. Okay, that's your engineering. Okay, but I tell you what, when you're shooting and fighting guys on the ship and putting out fires and fixing the mast and trying to navigate and still try and still try to shoot back, all you want to do is put plank on leak in ship.
Oh,
Anything
I'm
beyond
100%
that,
with you.
anything beyond that, and you can't play, right?
And
So, as much as I would love engineering to be this like get a college degree and whatnot, I think that's where when I talk about immersion in gameplay, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to actually be an engineer. Okay, that's not what it means. It means that there's enough linkage to reality, enough to link me to the feeling that I'm doing it, right? And in the situation, achieving something and working as a team, that I can feel that there is a little bit of a skill ceiling. There is a feeling of achievement when you do it well. And ultimately, you can survive, and it still creates this kind of movement, this flow, like the flight model, creating a movement and a flow. One of the sorry to jump into like another subject, but like you were just about to ask me about the flight model, I think, and I was going to ask you guys questions. But one of the suggestions I had on Twitter or X or whatever everyone's calling it nowadays, was that we have that. If you want to slow us down for combat, if combat is more fun when you're slowing down, why don't you've got these power triangles. We've got this like way of managing power. Like, why can't we manage our power and our ship becomes better at recharging its shields when it's slower? Our guns become more efficient at, we become more combat efficient when our ship is slowed down. Okay?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that naturally slow people down? If they knew that their ship was reaching a maximum efficiency level, if they slowed it down, if they moved their power into a place that made it more efficient, that they were better in combat, wouldn't they slow down? I don't know. Like, I feel like instead of just hitting a magic button and everything just switching for you, I thought we were going to manage our shields, right? Full power to weapons, 50% power to weapons, 50% power to shields, 50% power to guns, bam, you've got master mode. If I want to put power to my quantum drive, it takes power away from all those other things. I'm going to be less good in combat, but I'm going to be able to fly away. Maybe if I've got only a little bit of power into the quantum drive, I can only do a small quantum jump, right? So strategically moving your power to move you around and to make you more or less efficient in combat, I feel like that's more of a depth in gameplay, but still gets you slowed down, still gets you into master modes. The combat in master modes, the actual combat side of it stays, but your way of getting there changes, right?
Yeah.
It's not
I
just
see
a
what you're
magic
saying.
master mode button.
I kind of wanted to read this comment because it was Doomed was saying, well, I see a point, but as someone who plays Sea of Thieves, the big difference he emphasized there is you can only have 4 people per ship, or 2 or 3 depending on which ship you choose. In Star Citizen, some of these ships, like in Idris, they're meant to have way more people. Maybe per ship, there needs to be a varying degrees of how complicated it is. Larger ships should be more complicated to work on.
No.
You know what?
No. Larger
So-
ships are larger. You have further to travel to go and fix the issue.
I think.
Right? So now you're dealing with time and complication in movement. It's going to take you longer to go back to the engineering bay. It's going to take you longer to run to the front of the ship. It's going to take you, you know what I mean? Like, there's other ways of balancing this. And by the way, welcome to a game. Sea of Thieves has 3 ships in it. 3 ships, and they have a very specific a number of people that are going to be on the ships, okay? And every single time they make a tiny change, they have to balance it. Okay, they have 3 ships. These guys decided to sell the ships first and tack a game onto it afterwards.
Yeah.
And this is the problem you get. And
Yeah.
I told everyone for 2 years now that I've been playing Star Citizen, I said, oh my God, when they have to finally add gameplay to these ships, the interior of the ship is not going to work. You're going to get stuck. You're not going to be able to run. The Mercury Star Runner, you have to run all the way from the front, all the way to the back. You're going to need extra crew just for the fact that you have to get all the way back to your components. All the ships are going to need redesigned on the interior just to get this game to just to get engineering to work properly because of simply navigating the ship.
Yeah.
Simple things
So
like navigating the ship are going to slow you down.
So what I was going to say, as far as I still want there to be a definitely a skill, well, a very large skill ceiling for engineering, but I think that should come in 2 totally different types or 2 totally different phases. Where we all know patching something is a lot quicker than repairing something. You were talking about the plank, for example, over at Sea of Thieves. Yeah, if you're in the middle of a fight, you absolutely don't want to have to go through some stupid mini game that takes 30 seconds in order to fix a component or something. If you can patch it, keep everyone going. Let's say you guys took 20% damage on some sort of component, and you can repair 5-10% of it over and over and try and still keep it going, but it's still deteriorating from the fight. You're still taking damage. But after the fight's over, let's say you guys won, then there's going to be that skill ceiling of how fast can you repair the ship, how fast can you get those components back to 100 or close to 100. Maybe they're actually permanently damaged, and I think that's where a lot of that skill ceiling, that's where I want that to come in, because you don't want the really slow guy to take forever repairing each component, or several engineers fixing the whole ship back to 100 or close to 100, when you know that there may be another fight just right around the corner.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
the thing
like
is that it's sorry, just to like I just want to say that the chatter you referenced, he did have a very good point. Like I'm not saying the point is invalid. All I'm saying is that you have to take into account more than just like big ship, more people equals more complexity. So make the engineering the engineering should be even more complex, or it's going to be too easy for like too many people to be on that ship, and then it makes it easy. There's other ways of doing that. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, a ship like that could have like 3 to 4 to 5 times to 6 times the components that would need to be repaired than
Well-
the smaller ship. What we're talking about is the actual method of repair. That it shouldn't be this complete
overly complicated and method of
super
repair,
overly
yeah.
complicated thing. It should be there, but it shouldn't be this super overcomplicated thing, because otherwise, every other ship gets broken.
Well-
Your freelancer max gets broken, right?
If I could just jump in, as far as complexity in a larger ship, so when I'm thinking about when it comes to like the challenge of engineering would probably be more, you want the complexity to be where the captain of the ship knows where to place the people according to
Exactly.
planning, right? That's where the complexity would come in. I don't necessarily want the engineering itself, like the repairing, to be super simple. I don't see it so much of an issue of relays, but you're right, that could become overbearing. But I definitely want to see complexity in engineering where there's tuning, right? This comes before the battle starts, right? Or like, I have an
yes.
engineer at the home base and he's able to tune my ship in a way that somebody else doesn't know how to yet, and it gives me an advantage. That's where I'd like to see more of the complexity.
Like a great example, I don't know why this just popped in my head, but like a Dead by Daylight, and you got to fix the little generators or whatever. Something like that during combat would be great. And he's got to switch between trying to fix different components. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy, it's repetitive. Well, I shouldn't say repetitive, that's got a negative sound to it, but it's something you can do to keep the ship going. And let's say the component's even at 100%, he still keeps doing it. Now it's at 105, it's at 110,
Yeah.
So you get a little bit more performance. But when it's all over with and you're beat to hell and you're missing a wing or whatever, or an engine, then he has to go through and do the actual fix, and that requires a lot more skill. That's what I want to see.
Well, even if you got to remember that the complexity comes from assigning somebody to the right task at the right time. You've got
Yeah.
navigation, you've
Yeah.
got fighting back, you've got defensive only, you've got boarding, maybe you've got being hacked and counter hacking. Assigning the right person to the right role at the right time is where you get the complexity. Okay.
Yeah.
And so those individual tasks have to only be a percentage complex So even if, like you say, it could be repetitive, no fight is ever going to be the same, right?
Mhm.
Every enemy you encounter will be different. They will hit you in a different place.
Yeah.
They will engage you in a different way. And so the complexity comes from the circumstance you're in. Okay. And
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
be able
talking
to
about
plan
it
for
being
that. Yeah.
too simple,
Yeah.
but the fact that you can keep all that information in your head and work as a team to achieve it. And I'm talking about like maybe, okay, like you have one guy that's really good at engineering. Okay, you have your engineer guy and he works the console. But the tasks of the crewman task, the running around the ship task, those should be on a level that not necessarily everyone can do, but someone who has a decent familiarity with Star Citizen should be able to do relatively simply, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so again, it's I talk about immersion, I talk about a hardcore experience, but look how enjoyable Sea of Thieves is, and I would still say that that's hardcore. It has the potential to be. If you play Sea of Thieves properly, and you get your team working together, and you become an efficient crew, and you navigate, communicate, fire back, defend the ship, repair the ship at the right times. It can be very hardcore, and it's only 4 of you on a wooden boat, but it's incredibly engaging at even that level of simplicity. It's super engaging, and you can die, or you can live. And when you live, you feel amazing, especially in the tough fights,
Mhm.
And remember, we're not just going to be fighting one ship, okay? You could be attacked by 2, 3, 4 ships, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's again, it's got to be accessible, but it's got to feel like you're doing something that could be real, but accessible enough that roughly everyone could do it.
Like,
In time.
So
I feel like
speaking
this.
of those like 3 to 4 ships, we should shuffle over to the master modes topics.
Well, that's what I was
since we're
gonna
kind
say.
of
It
in
feels
that
like we're
same vein,
falling
you
that
know?
way. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to keep the topic kind of going on along there. So what was the question, Expat, that you had about master modes?
Well, I mean, basically, how do you guys? I know that the griefers, as some people call the people that like PvP, which they're not, guys. PvP is in Star Citizen. PvP is a good thing, and we all have to get used to it. And when you leave the hangar, you got to prepare, because
Mhm.
life sucks. Okay.
Can we quote that? Because
But you can
sometimes
prepare
you
life
can
life
make
sucks.
sucks.
but you can make life suck for someone else as well. Okay, if you learn how. Okay. Now, so what do you guys? I know there was a bit of an uproar in the PvP community, but to be honest, I don't want to. I know that sometimes the PvP community gets kind of like boxed in. You get stuck in a little. You get put in a little box, like all you do is exist in Arena Commander, and nobody comes down to the basement and talks to you guys, and you're all in the basement playing PvP mode, Star Citizen, and every now and again, you start yelling up from the basement. Well, what are the master modes?
Extra rogue! Where's my PK pocket?
Right. So
Mom!
Quite literally in the basement, by the way, but whatever.
So what's the
Yep.
deal? So what's the deal? What do you guys think of master modes? Because I mean, not to I don't want to put anyone in the spot, right? But Dark Law likes master modes. Burks has been quite openly defending and liking master modes, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm again, I'm not like super into the PvP side of things. I'm not super into shooting other ships. Me personally, I just think it feels a bit stunted to me. It feels a little bit overly gamified to me. But what do you guys think? Having tried it out and having tested it, and what would you guys change?
It feels like
What
one
would
of
you
those
tell someone who
implementations.
kind of does everything else?
I'll go. I'm going to say it feels like one of those implementations where they're bringing in stuff from Squadron 42 and then forcing it into a multiplayer experience. And it doesn't necessarily translate as well because you have multiple, roles that need to be filled. And it's going to become this endless, bouncing game where nobody's happy with the role that their ship is in. It's going to create like weird metas every time they shuffle the numbers. And I don't know. Personally, I play solo a lot of the times. I play the role of a thief. So master modes is going to be very difficult. And it really makes you rethink your tactics that you're going to do if you're going to be solo. If you're playing with friends, it's a lot easier. Kind of, I don't know. It feels like it reduces the skill ceiling, as we've said in previous episodes, and it replaces it with DPS and numbers. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
It feels tedious.
100%.
I think it just depends on from what perspective you're asking, really, right? Because if we're like, okay, so the first thing that was kind of like an uproar is there was obviously a light fighter meta, and
Mhm.
you literally could go out with a team of light fighters and destroy anything, right? And that I never agreed with. I don't agree. It should never be that way. Obviously, like I should not. Like, am I gonna go out on a speedboat and take out a battleship? You know what I mean? And that's what it feels like. Like that's the comparison. It's like going out on a speedboat.
That's what the
Oh,
guys in never mind. That's what they thought. Anyway.
But we got 10 speedboats, so we should be able to take out the battleship easy because it's 10 of us, right? And you had people that were basically just griefing the damn system with what was it, dragonflies on the latest overdrive missions, right? Stuff like that
Yeah.
shouldn't exist. So in my opinion, it depends, right? So from a 1v1 dogfighter perspective, it was a shock. And I didn't like it, but I didn't like it because the previous versions were just trash from my opinion. It was like everything was the absolute opposite. And nothing seemed to make sense.
Dogfighting 1v1, 2v2s, things like that, light fighter, medium, heavies, they all took a huge drastic drop in the fun and the competitiveness. The skill ceiling went way
Initially.
down. Initially, yeah. And
Yeah.
it still feels like a pretty heavy reduction because you do get that arcadey kind of feeling when you're in a little bubble with a few other people. And
Fight mode.
I agree with Elder. I absolutely agree with Elder because if I was trying to be unbiased and I looked at all the ships in the game, I would look at it and go, "There's no reason for me to fly around a Connie with 2 people on it before. Like, I'm just gonna get killed. If I'm a CS5, he's the CS5. We're 100% gonna die, and that's without an Eclipse. That's just a light fighter rolling up, like you said. And so
Right.
It froze you on your face.
so-
You were like,
I saw the like drip face that was going on for a
sorry,
second
go
there
ahead,
too.
please. Yeah.
But so if I was trying to be unbiased, I like the fact that they're pushing the idea of actually making numbers a thing, but at the same time I don't like it because now that gameplay of 1v1 and light fighters and dogfighting has taken such a heavy hit that it's not as enjoyable and as fun as it was. And I'll be honest, like I like AC, but I'm not an AC rat. I don't spend every day in AC, but I
Tell
still
me
love
you're
my
not an
dogfights.
AC Andy?
Nope. So
Oh,
yeah,
AC
it's
Andy, is that what they call him? Okay.
I'm one of those guys that's kind of 50-50 in the middle. There's a lot of things I don't like about it. Hell, we figured out some weaknesses to my favorite ships, which are EMP ships, last night, and so that was a bit dissatisfying. But at the same time, I love the idea that I want to look at a hammerhead or a fully crewed Valkyrie and my heavy fighter and go, I don't know if I want to mess with that.
Right. But was it like I heard people that used to suggest like, well, why can't size 4 shields just not be penetrated by a size 1 gun or a size 2 gun or size 3 gun? Or
I'll be right back, by the
you know
way.
what I mean?
Sorry.
There wasn't there like an idea of that in the past, or that you would need a certain number of size 1s to even start to, punch through a size, 4, size 3 shield, you know what I mean? Like was there anything to that idea?
So to me, I've heard that once or twice before. I don't know. I didn't think it was a real running thing there for a while, but maybe it was, and I just didn't hear it very often. But one thing that really bothers me about making that is you don't have this gradual effect anymore. You have this more of a stair stepping of, oh, there's this wall at size 3 or size 4, and there's just nothing I can do about it without, some sort of overwhelming tool to combat it. You don't get that customization or that gradual effect of either having more fighters or strategy or anything like that. It's just now wall. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that because you got to think it's like, even if, okay, you have a gunner ship like a hammerhead, sure, I shouldn't be able to take 5 gladiuses and really win that fight. I think wouldn't make
Gladii.
sense. Gladii, yeah. But if you had 30 gladii with you, at that point it should start actually being able to make a dent, right? Because that's a lot of laser weapons or
Oh
whatever
yeah, I mean
repeaters or
we've all played
so.
those space
it's a lot of
games where
frame drop.
you've got
Yeah,
the big capital ship, and it's like, okay, now we've all got to target the weak spot, right? You got to go target the weak spot. You got to go target the shield generator. So
so
you all
yeah.
target the shield generator, and you bring the shields down, and then you can start doing damage. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
wouldn't that
so
be
I would
kind of
imagine.
fun?
Yeah, I think it would be, but I would imagine if you had that wall, then now that's where
Yeah.
the problem would be. So I don't think that would really work. But um,
I don't
I mean,
I don't I don't like the idea of let's just throw a bigger number at the problem. So yeah, you bring 30 gladii to a hammerhead. I still vote for the hammerhead to just shred them all. And I that's not counting like the that's not taking into account how the flight model is right now. That's just how I see it as a game in general. I think a ship that excels at destroying light and medium fighters like they're candy. I think
yeah,
throwing more light fighters and medium fighters at it is just a more fun day for the hammerhead at that point.
to an
So
extent.
Well,
I mean,
you could say, because the thing is that there's all this like potential gameplay, right? That isn't there yet. So could you hack the hammerhead shields down? Could you, like,
yeah,
okay, so you've got the hammerhead, this impenetrable beast for your fleet, right? There's many different fleets. Fleet on fleet could be different depending on the fleet that you bring. But let's say you don't have that your fleet pretty much consists of like a liberator and some fighters. Okay, so what can you do, right? And then maybe it's a concentrated fire on a single location. Like if you concentrated fire on, say, like the front right turret, eventually you can punch a hole through that shield and kill one of the turrets, right? And you start to slowly reduce the capability of the ship. You know what I mean? I mean, there could be an argument for something like that, right? Where it is like a mega boss mode, right? It is a boss fight, but depending on the tactics that you decided to choose, you could potentially defeat it, right?
so Doom there, he mentioned saying, bigger ship, just bigger situation. And I don't completely agree with that because there's always going to be this rock, paper, scissor effect. I
yeah,
mean, for example, you bring a hammerhead and two eclipses against it. Who you voting for?
yeah. There's got to be
It's
a
it's obvious
balance.
that
And
yeah,
how do you
there's
take
going to
out
be
the eclipse?
strategy.
How are you going to take
Yeah.
out the eclipse? Because the eclipse doesn't have to get close, right? Now you have
Yeah,
that
I mean, he could
rock
drop
paper
it at
scissors.
3 kilometers and just give you the finger the whole time.
So
So
now you want light fighters for the eclipse, right? So now that the eclipse
exactly,
is going to get attacked by light fighters, well, what do we do about that? Well, we got to make sure that the eclipse is safe, right? So we have maybe light fighters that are going to protect the eclipse from the other light fighters, right? So you end up with that rock
exactly.
paper scissors. That part of master modes for me is working. Like I like that
Yes.
this beginning to grow this ability to plan situations and battles and things like that with an actual team in a battle ship composition, right? Where before that didn't matter. It really didn't matter at all, and it was just stupid. I mean, it was fun as
Yeah.
hell, and I enjoyed the light fighting and I enjoyed all that, right? But I didn't want us to also have to sacrifice light fighting for those large scale battles and say, well, only this will be good or that will be good. Now,
Yeah.
if I just wanted to throw in there, I do definitely think mass modes is going in a better direction now. It's I like the idea that it's you can drop out of nav mode directly into SDM without this like ridiculous wait time, because why would that make sense? in my opinion. I like that there's a shorter spool to nav mode, right? So that now it's starting to present these opportunities to use things in a certain way. If they're dying for nav mode, fine. But at least we're not like restrained, and if I go into nav mode by accident, even I can't drop out of it until it finishes a spool. Now I can cancel that. That makes
Yeah.
sense to me, right? So it seems like there's more logic coming in with
But
it.
one of the things that I struggle though with, like in the PU at the moment with this nav mode, fight mode dynamic, right, is that well, number one, I mean, you've got no flares in nav mode, which is, you're trying to get away. It seems like you could. I don't know the in-lore reasoning, but like why you can't drop a few flares on your way out. Anyway, that's another thing. But it feels like they're trying to, in my opinion, right? They have like 3, 4, 5 games that they're trying to bake into one, okay?
Yeah.
And keep everybody happy. Okay, you've got the first-person shooter game, right? Which they're testing, in a bubble in Arena Commander. Okay, and of course, Arena Commander is more fun when it's like Call of Duty, because you're running around super fast, and you're shooting each other, and blah 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 blah, right? And then you've got the PvP community, and Arena Commander, and the combat between ships game, right?
Yeah.
You've got the racing guys, and the low flyers who also want to have their fun space game. You've got the people that just want to haul cargo and get from A to B, and they don't mind about going slow. They just want to survive. You got those guys as well, and so you've got all these multiple potential space games that you want to kind of blend into one. And master modes for me just feels like, okay, we're just going to keep you guys happy with this mode, and then you're going to change games completely when you push a button, and now you guys are happy, right? We got Star Citizen the game here. We got Star Citizen the game here, and it's just at the push of a button, and you can switch your games, right? That's how it feels like to me. And the only thing I would hope is that if they finally get the combat right, with the master modes, that we can blend the two games together in a way that doesn't feel as stunted.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels stunted to me.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say this. Last night, I don't know if this really falls into this, but so last night, me and Contagion were hunting somebody, right? Bounty hunting, on EPTU. And with the new changes of being able to switch to like nav mode and stuff like that, I will definitely say everything felt a lot more cohesive, because we were chasing this Corsair and we're in 2 Gladius or Gladii, right? We're chasing a Corsair, and it took him time to jump, but we were able to actually time it right. One of us jumped fast, right, and caught up with him, stuff like that. So I don't know if that really falls into what you're saying, but it didn't feel like there was like this break in the modes anymore, like it did
So there
initially.
was more of a flow.
There was more of a flow. Yeah. It didn't feel so much
good.
as like this dead, because with the quick spool up to nav mode and the immediate drop off, you don't feel like you're really breaking up those different modes so much like you did before. So it did feel like a better flow. You should probably check it out.
Okay, good.
I hope it continues staying kind of like that, because it didn't feel so abrupt. It's very abrasive the way it was in Live's master mode and experimental mode. It just didn't feel right. It was like, now I gotta wait for nav. Now I'm in nav. Now I gotta come out of nav. Now I'm waiting to come out of nav. Okay, now I'm finally out and I'm ready to fight. Like, it just didn't. It was too much of a break, and it didn't make any sense. So
And
I
how
think.
do you guys feel about the new pip? And like, do you feel?
Oh, it's terrible.
And the
It's
zoom
awful.
in.
Horrendous.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I don't like the new. I don't like the new.
They don't
I don't
pip.
think
that.
anybody likes it.
I'm not around to just say I don't like things. By the way, guys, I'm not just here to sit
Can
in
we
a
get a
box,
vote?
be a moving head, and say I don't like things. But the new pip, I don't know if I'm shooting or not.
It's
Like,
terrible. It's less visible. Right. So the previous pip wasn't the best, but one of the good things about it was there was that slight animation that
it
showed
felt
when
like
you
you
were on
locked
target.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you knew, so that would, because right, we're programmed as human beings to see movement, right? So when you were on pip and that movement happened, it would catch your eye if maybe you started to lose the pip a little bit, right?
Okay, pulls up.
Yeah, it
There you
would kind of lock on. You would get like this kind of feeling of it locking on, and then the pip would expand. It would like physically change, and you would be like, oh, instead of like just a red and a green, which we're firing. I mean, we're firing like red lasers and stuff. It all gets a bit much.
Yeah.
Visually to me. I feel like that. I feel like a lot of this stuff with the UI and how they've visually changed things, it's actually made me less able to quickly soak in the information that I need to be able to make decisions quickly in combat or in a situation. Like even the new UI for the ship, although it hasn't been fully implemented yet, I feel it more difficult now to look at the screen and take in the information quick enough to make a decision. Like the silly things like the you know, the lines in the middle of the screen to tell if you're like pitching right, left, you know, up, down, etc. in atmosphere.
Yeah.
They take up the middle of the screen now. They used to be kind of like a little off to the side. And I felt like that gave me a good visual of what I'm actually flying towards. I could still get the information just slightly off my periphery, only slightly. And then, you know, but little things like that. And I don't know where that comes from because it doesn't help us, right? But it's been changed nonetheless.
We
It's like it's
actually
been
end up
changed,
talking.
but
We actually were talking about the pip last night, and one of the things I told them was, if they're not going to give us the option to literally customize it and change color or shape or anything, why don't they just make it a rotating circle that's just literally black and white? Just that's it. And then that way, as it rotates, maybe the whole thing turns green when you're dead on your pip or whatever. But for the most part, why don't you have that contrast that is also an animation? Because on all of your backdrops, you'd be able to see it, except for when it's hiding behind the party markers and you can't see nothing.
I think aside from like the pip, the only things that have kind of bothered me, someone also actually brought this up, but I don't really care for the pitch ladder and where it's positioned in the center of the screen when you're in Atmo.
yeah,
That kind of
that's what I was
drives me a
talking
little
about.
crazy.
Pitch
Yeah, yeah.
ladder.
So
Mhm.
I think with the pitch ladder, I think that's circumstantial. So if you're in a specific type of ship, okay, all right. One of the problems that I'm sure many of us had is in the past, it was like you didn't even know if you were flying towards the damn planet when it was nighttime, right? You didn't know if you're flying towards the damn planet. You didn't know if you were upside down. You don't know anything, right? So now with the pitch ladder, it has the midline with the horizon I think it's a great thing for light fighters where you need that input immediately without even having to take your eyes off the center of the screen. But if you're in a ship where that's not something you're specifically looking for, maybe a larger ship, maybe that should be broken off to the sides or something. You know, what I
Should
mean? I
that
think
be
it could be
dependent on whether
circumstantial.
or not you're in SEM or nav mode? Perhaps it just
Yeah, that
brackets
would
off
make
to the
sense
side
too.
when you're in
Yeah.
like nav mode as well. That wouldn't be a
Yeah.
bad like compromise, I feel.
Or perhaps that now and see these are the things where like we haven't seen the full influence. Maybe like this is the hopium and copium setting in, but it's like maybe we haven't seen the full implementation, and maybe I'm going to be able to customize what that looks like. Maybe I'm going to take those thick lines that are in the middle of my screen stopping me from seeing what's in front of me, and I'm going to be able to make them thin lines and push them wider. Maybe,
Yeah.
right? That's the hope, right?
There should be
That's
some
the
room
hope
for
is that we get some
customizability too.
customization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. It's that's one of the things I struggle with. Why can't the paints be at least basic color customization? Sorry. All right.
Because then you couldn't make it blue
in
and
general.
pink like your background. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just-
Well,
Well, you wouldn't buy
Well,
the
it's not.
Blue and
It's
red,
not.
blue
buy
and
the
red.
paints.
It's salmon. Okay.
and salmon.
Well,
Like
'cause
your
you
background?
won't buy them in the store, Ender. That's why. That's why they're not giving you. That's why they're not letting you
Yeah.
choose the color of your ship. They'll let you choose the color of your hair for now, right, without paying. But at the end of the day, like you know, they gotta make their money. They gotta keep the
If-
servers ticking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But
I think we have time for maybe one more question, unless you guys felt like you weren't done wrapping that up. I was gonna kind of check in since we're talking about master modes. I mean,
Oh, please. Do you have a
Well,
question?
Well, I'm just I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of things that you know look like they're being worked on. It does look like it's being changed, like you said, it's improving, it's getting better.
Mhm.
You know, let's hope it gets to a situation where like more of the, like where there isn't such a juxtaposition between the incredibly detailed and realistic and detailed looking ships and our, you know, UI becoming too cartoony and stuff like that, that it becomes a bit awkward, you know. I personally like the current ship UI. I know if they removed some of the useless lines and things like that, like at the top right and top left, etc. I quite like that it looked like a jet fighter. I mean, it's something that works in current jet fighters today.
Yeah.
I don't know why it wouldn't work in current jet fighters of the future. But anyway, that's just me. But like I said, hopefully we can customize that. But yeah, like if they're as long as they're still working on it and that they're taking input and that we're able to get like that nice flow between the two, then yeah, like I'm hopeful. At the end of the day, I just want to fly around the space game and feel good while doing it. And master modes was preventing that feeling of joy, and maybe as it gets worked on, that will come back. And please put back cruise control.
Oh, cruise
Just a good
control's in there.
old-fashioned kind.
Oh yeah, it's weird now. It's
just-
awkward.
Yeah,
I don't
just put
understand
back
what
cruise
the deal is with
control,
that. Yeah.
please.
I do want
I
to.
hit the C button, I go forward. That's it. Simples.
I do want to jump on it though with the customization. So maybe have a good base where you can do your own customizations within at least a range, right, or something. Like you said, like thin out or thicken out the lines or something like that for the UI, because I think that's pretty important. Everybody kind of has
Like
their
you
own.
can have the
What about like
the
an
old cruise
adaptive
control.
UI? You know,
Adaptive in what way?
Well, it does adapt at the moment, right? So one thing I noticed is it adapts when you go into atmosphere, and then the UI fades away when you go out into space. But I do miss having that altimeter at the right side, because like just again, just being able to quickly look and get the information as quick as possible to know if I'm going up or down, instead of looking at a number and seeing if the number's going up and down. Remember, we used to have the ladder that went up and down at the right side, with our speed that goes up and down on the left side. Now, I went back and watched the CitizenCon demonstration of what the new ship UI was going to be, and I was like, wait, I can't look at that quickly and know all the information I need, right? So why are you making it so I have a harder time? I don't understand that. Anyway, it's game design. Figure it out.
yeah. Okay, so last question. Given the current state of Wave 3 testing, do you have any or like, say this is pure speculation, do you have any predictions on when 3.23 will hit live?
You know what?
I'm thinking maybe next weekend, but I could be wrong there.
Right. So I'm one of these people, and maybe people don't like the way I think about this. And maybe it doesn't quite work for CIG's funding model. But I'm one of these people who will just say, break it till you make it, guys. I'm one of these people that will say, you know what? If we have to take this, like what has become like this cobbled together live service experience, I don't know when it became a live service game because the game isn't released yet. But anyway, I'm one of these people that says, just take it offline. Take the whole damn thing offline for 3 months. Go to work, figure it out, come back with something that actually works, and we'll all be happy, right? You might actually get something done. The problem, what I think that one of the problems might be, is that they're spending so much time trying to keep this live service idea alive, and that Star Citizen should always be playable, that they're going back and fixing all these bugs that always break. Every single patch, the same damn thing breaks, and they have to spend time fixing it. How much time have they spent fixing stuff just to get the game to work good enough that they can sell a ship? Whereas, why don't you just break it? Just break it until you get it to work, and then we'll play it.
It's a never-ending, repeating cycle of the game. They break it, you end up with. I mean, how many times have we gone through elevator bugs and the train system being an issue, and
they have to go back and fix it again
they
and
fix
again
it,
and again and
they
again.
fix it, yeah. And then you go with the new patch and you add all kinds of new stuff and it's broken again. Although I will say I don't want the game to go offline for 3 months. Sorry.
Look, I know. The only thing that I think, No, but the only thing I always just think that we're chasing releases. We're always chasing releases,
Yeah,
chasing
I mean, yeah,
releases.
that's
So just like if 3.23 has to, or 3.22 has to stay here a while, you know, for 3.23, like have the two versions. Have the version that's like getting constantly updated and whatever, like the test universe. Have the stable universe for everyone that just wants to play. But they keep chasing these release deadlines for the sake of
sales.
IAE and these big sales moments and these big
Yeah.
sales things. But they're chasing these dates and then putting out something that's like missing features, or if they just spent a bit more time, they could have fleshed out that mechanic. Or if they just spent a bit more time, they could have had the full implementation of something. Instead,
Yeah.
they release these like half implementations into the world. And of course, everyone then goes on Spectrum, makes these huge posts about all the stuff that is broken or missing, or I suggest you could do this in future. But they were going to do that. You just didn't know, or you just didn't see it because they just wanted to release it into this live service experience.
Yeah.
I feel like it's okay to hold it back until it's ready. Like hold it like
I think
if
it's
three,
like you said though, like these sales deadlines, and it's
Yeah.
what's so like they're trying to release just enough to be able to be like, here's a reason to play again and buy stuff.
Well,
But
yeah,
at the same
exactly.
time, you can't help but understand that, you know, that's what's driven the game to where the progress they've made. But it's also what's kind of always kept pushing the goalpost out. I feel like too, you know.
Yeah, look, I understand that they have to make the money and have to do the sales events and whatever keeps it going. I think at the end of it, no matter if we have different opinions on how the game should be, and I'm talking to everyone, the people that want it to be Call of Duty, and the people that want it to be like Space Farm Simulator, whoever you are out there, and whatever Star Citizen you want them to make, I think we all would agree, if Star Citizen was a fun experience, we'd all be happy, right? We'd all be happy regardless. Okay, if we could go in
Yeah.
and have fun,
I wouldn't
we'd all be
care if a
happy.
can of
But
Cruise or a bottle of Cruise stays out in the middle of Daymar somewhere and stays there persistently forever. I don't care. I don't care about that. There are cool things about persistence, but that's
I
something
gotta,
that
I gotta be able to hide my hydration from people,
if
man.
if
Especially when
I
in pyro,
uh,
that's gonna be really, really
imagine
valuable.
that you're out in the middle of the desert and you come across a cruise drink that somebody dropped like a
Just
year earlier, and you just
To see
happen
that cruise life,
to.
it has a story.
Well, I mean, so there
yeah,
are there are things I appreciate, but like there's things that it's like it would be cool, but it's like it's taking so much time to like have a very good functioning game because they want to do things like they want realistic weather patterns or something, you know, or toilet flushing.
no, but see, this is the issue, right? This is the issue, is that they made it's all this funding mechanic, okay, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it, except it makes game development extremely difficult from what I can see, right? Because ideally, what you would do is you would make an engine, you would make the networking, you would then make 2 or 3 ships that you can test, like Sea of Thieves, until you get a fighting mechanic, and all that kind of stuff, and then you balance all the other ships that you add after that moment, based
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
The problem is that they've sold a bunch of JPEGs, okay,
Yeah.
with the
Now they have to
idea
fill
that
'em.
these JPEGs are going to be something,
Yeah.
and now they have to tack gameplay on top of it.
Yeah.
And this
Well-
is the circumstance that we find ourselves in.
Well,
We find
yeah.
ourselves in a situation where we look at the gameplay that they're putting on top of it and go, "Wait a minute, what is this?"
and from multiple studios too.
We were talking about this the other day though, like where they sold ships so large that they have to actually get server meshing working in order for them
Otherwise, you can't
to
support it. You can't
yeah.
support it
Yeah.
otherwise. Yeah.
So it's like you're right. They now they're wrapping gameplay around those sales really.
Yeah, actually, when it was Defense Con, I think it was last year. By the way, I'm in the content creator program, but I mean, I say stuff, like I think so many people at CIG are amazing people, and I think so many of them have a passion and they want this to be good, and I'm with them. I'm with them for that. But I don't want them to. I know it's weird to say this, but like I don't want them to take shortcuts. Right, and one of the things I've never particularly loved the funding model or the or I think anybody that has a passion for Star Citizen, I don't think any of us can look at the ship store and go, this is a good idea, right? It gets the job done, but I don't think we can morally say we like the idea of, like, you know,
I don't
fake
think anybody thought it was
limited.
going to work as well as it has.
Yeah, I
honestly.
know, right?
Yeah.
But like last year at DefenseCon, there were all these people coming into the chat and they were saying, "Oh, I'm so happy! I bought a Kraken! I bought a Kraken! I bought a Kraken!" And I was like, okay, like, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you, but I just need you to be aware, right, before you get like too, like, I'm gonna buy a Kraken. I'm gonna buy a Kraken. Your Kraken means nothing if they can't get server meshing working. Your Kraken means nothing if you can't put the 50 crew on it. Your Kraken means nothing if your Kraken is the only thing that can be spawned on a server without it crashing. Okay? So before you go out and buy these things, understand that some of the technology that makes these things possible doesn't exist, right? And there's a chance.
Well, it kind of
There
exists.
is
It's getting
still
there
a
now.
chance. Well, there's still a chance that it doesn't work in practice. Okay?
Yeah.
We don't 100% know yet. So I always try and give that cautionary advice. And then they don't listen to me, and then they buy a Kraken, and then they tweet about it. So it doesn't make a difference, but at least I feel, at least I feel like I did my part to just kind of remind people, like, just be a little bit cautious here, because we're finally in a territory where it might look like some of this stuff might actually work. And it's amazingly exciting to be in a situation like this. But this should have been done years ago, right? Before we sold Krakens, before we sold Javelins, this should have been done years ago. But ultimately, would it have got this far if they hadn't done it? Who knows, right? So, yeah, it's just a consequence of the funding model, right? Like it or hate it, we're still here. The servers are still up. They're still working, and there's still hope.
Yeah.
Hope and cope, guys. Hope and cope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm just doing a few things here.
that does that long pause that makes me feel so uncomfortable. I'm like,
What's
But
even better
as
is if
far
you
as
do
when
that.
sorry, I didn't even answer your question. I blabbed and blah 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 blah. I didn't answer your question. So your question was, when do you think this 323 is going to release? Well, the stripped down version of 323, which will no doubt continue to evolve, and will get added on and changed and all that kind of stuff in future, will likely release. I reckon in a week's time, about a week and a half, something
yeah, I
like
think
that.
so.
They'll push something out. It won't be the IAE version, but something will come out.
Just so do we want to open it up? Because some people are saying they have some questions, and I'm wondering if you wanted to let a couple people in for very, very limited time.
All right,
I
just
got
double
time.
checking
I love
because
the
we know
people.
it's
So-
late for your time right now, right?
Yeah,
Expat?
it's like
So
2
just
o'clock
wanna
in the
make sure
morning for her, I
on
think.
that.
Well, I mean, why don't we say bye to the people on YouTube? Why don't you cut this as this version, and then you do the Q&A as a separate little thing, and we can take a quick little break or something like that. I can make a coffee.
You want?
We can take a break. Yeah.
Do you guys want
let's,
to? Can
give it a
we
standby,
queue?
run
Do
an
you have
ad
the
break,
ability
and
to
then we'll come
queue
right back.
a commercial for a few moments while we
Yep,
go on
I'm
a
doing
break?
that right now.
All right.
I
well,
approve this
So, I mean-
message.
Well, why don't we say like and subscribe, and join on
Yeah.
YouTube and
like
whatnot.
and subscribe.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Come on,
and some
enter
people need new
damn
microphones, so
video.
send money.
And plug it in.
But if there is anybody that actually wants to jump in, we have a waiting room inside Griefer's pub section of G42. If you guys have some questions, you want to jump into the stream for a few minutes. Not a few minutes. We have to kind of like, but jump into that waiting room. We'll pull you in one at a time.
I just want to make. By the way, I just want to make it. Like I'm gonna put all the blame on you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just gonna tell everyone I have all the time in the world. I have all the
All right.
time in the world.
But it's
Sounds
our
good.
fault. Okay,
You guys,
I'm good with that.
you guys go nuts. So it's your fault if you cut everyone off, and it's your fault if you tell somebody to wrap it up. Okay. I'm just
All right.
making that clear. I'm gonna be the hero of this story. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Yeah, we're villains anyways, so it doesn't make so much of a difference. I mean, we're always playing pirate roles anyway. We're gonna cut the commercial really quick, and then we'll be back in a couple minutes. Let's go to
All right.
standby.
Okay, cool. I'll make a coffee.
Sounds All right, and welcome back, guys. We are going to start taking callers, and it looks like we already have one in the waiting room. We have Defango joining us, so let's get that sorted out. I'm gonna pull him in. Hello and welcome. What's up, Defango?
Hello, how are you doing today?
Are we saying
Pretty
your
great.
name
How are
right?
you?
Hello,
Defango?
Defango.
Defango?
Defango or
Defango. All
Defango,
right.
it's fine. Yeah, how's it going?
What's
Pretty
going on,
good.
buddy?
Yeah,
What's your
good,
question?
man.
Well, my question is how do you guys feel about terrorists in the verse?
Define
Terrorists.
terrorist.
Oh,
Yeah, define
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Define
I had a little run in
GrieferNet.
with yeah, I had a little run in with Defango before in the past. So
Mhm.
I think it's I think it's absolutely fine. As long as we keep it in game. So I guess my concern in general is you know, if we do too much stuff like outside of the game or outside of Star Citizen, you know, especially like looking at streams and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like internationally, like over, like in any game, in all games, you know, things like stream sniping, etc., like that, it's not acceptable, in my opinion. And I don't, I think there's a lot of ways of kind of like cheesing Star Citizen at the moment, to get into people's servers, and you know, what is it like a there's a few different ways of being able to, like, you know, you see somebody on the server and then everybody jumps onto the same server and you go after that person and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think you know, piracy and everything and PvP and all that kind of stuff is 100% valid. I've said it like a billion times. The only thing I don't like is when it goes too far out of the game. You know, you know, when it becomes less about you know, like being in lore or in the game and everything, and within the rules and the context of the game, and when it becomes like, you know, fighting in the discords and fighting in the YouTube videos, and you know, like, you know, people making like rap songs against you and like whatever it may be. It's like, whatever you're gonna do, keep it in the verse, and you know, keep it within the terms and conditions. And I think that should be easy to do, because it seems like most people are able to do it no problem.
Hmm. I mean,
I
I
feel
feel
like
Is
like
that
we have been doing it pretty good with no problems. I mean, sure, we've had one run in which allowed us to get information from CIG that we didn't have before about how they were interacting with content creators and other people across the verse. So myself, I'm a content creator. I'm not sure if you knew that or not. I've been around for quite some time, and I mean, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, like, isn't terrorism, isn't piracy and stuff like that is on top of the verse, and then you bring up these incidents of it being outside of the game. And I mean, metagaming has always been a thing in every single video game. I don't disagree with that particular persuasion. I just wonder why it's been such a problem lately, and what do you think we could do or people like us could do to make it better for the rest of the community? Because I mean, honestly, we like going around and killing people. That's like our main goal, right? But then we also like interrupting and creating immersive events that, you know, people are just all like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And we enjoy doing that, but you know, like, we're playing within the realm of the game. We're using the same services and everything else that you're using. We make videos and live streams just like you guys do. So like, what I'm trying to figure out was where the breakup
Well, I think
is.
that's kind of, I think that's kind of interesting, you know, about making live streams and everything, just like we do. When uh, when the organization basically prides itself on going after streamers. So how do you guys like kind of rationalize that? If you guys are streamers as well, what makes some content creators like valid, you know, targets, and how do you target a content creator if you are not on their server?
Well, I don't think we specifically target content creators per se. We specifically target events, and it seems like most of the events are in conjunction with content creators because it's that kind of relationship within the game. That's how it's been. You know, we're a really small community. It's not very large. So there's not a whole lot going on at any given time. So like, the propensity for there to be an event and then there also be a content creator associated with it is generally
Well,
pretty high.
I think you're referring to the experience. So the experience was just to chat know, the experience was an 890 jump tour across Stanton, right? And they got themselves some security, and they worked for about like a month. I know the security wasn't great. I get that, right? But they basically worked themselves for like months to make this kind of like cool experience where you toured Stanton system, and basically these guys got targeted pretty much from day one from the Griefer guys, and unfortunately, the Griefer guys managed to get into their Discord, and they managed to get somebody onto the guest list for the ship, which allowed them to put a party marker onto the 890.
That's
And
actually
then
not how it
subsequently,
went down.
oh, well, maybe you could let us know, but you won't let us know because then that'll give away your tactics and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I'll say as much as that there was definitely, I believe, a guy that was in the Discord that was just
Well, I
looking
know.
around,
Well, the thing
and
is,
he got
I know there
booted
was
the
a guy
day
on the
of.
ship.
He got booted the
Well, I
day
know
of,
there was
but
a,
the
yeah,
way
but
that
the
we
thing is,
actually got on.
he then knew like where the 890 was going to be spawning. It was going to be on Origin. Somehow you managed to get on the same server. I mean, what's the chances of being on the same server? I don't know. You probably joined on somebody that you knew was going, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just kind of like cheesing the current system of like server and friends lists to put yourself in a position that otherwise naturally in the verse, like you weren't like naturally flying over Origin, saw an 890 jump filling up with people and go, oh, I tell you what we're gonna do, we're gonna, no, it doesn't happen like that, right?
Well,
It's
our
pre,
operative.
it's, in my opinion, it's kind of like fake PvP. It's like
I'll be honest with
you know,
you. It's kind of funny that you said it like that, because that's actually kind of how it happened, is that we lost our in on that particular situation, and it just
you're
per
in, by the
chance.
way, just clarify what your in was. Your in was somebody in the Discord who was befriending them, pretending
Somebody
to be
that
nice
paid to be on
for
the
the purpose.
experience.
Yeah, somebody who paid to be on the experience, and those guys trusted that somebody wanted to go on the experience and do something nice, basically. Somebody wanted to go and do a nice thing, and they were going to do a nice thing for that person, but that person was specifically doing it for the sake of getting people on the server so that they could blow them up with a single torpedo. And by the way, the argument was made for that situation where, oh yeah, but we did PvP. There was no PvP. It was a pretty much an eclipse showed up, a torpedo went out, and the quickest possible situation that you could explode that ship happened. There was no fight. There was none of that. It was all. I mean, we all saw what happened, right? I mean,
We got video of it.
and then basically a bunch of videos were put out that were to promote the fact that this was done. And in the videos, you basically all outed your gamer tags. You all outed the fact that you were spamming the chat, right? And then I guess other videos were made afterwards that said that, oh yeah, look at all these people ganging up on us. They're ganging up on us and they're talking to CIG. You killed 30 odd people. Of course they're going to complain. The fact that they all complained can't be a surprise. And somehow it was this like,
we had a successful terrorist
coordinated attack. It was a coordinated attack against us. And then the videos came out about how we're the victims. You hunted those guys down every possible chance they had to go and do anything. And you kept killing them and kept killing them and kept killing. No, you didn't, because I know about the other attacks as well. So
what other attacks? Those weren't involving GrieferNet. They're just being put on GrieferNet. We only attacked the experience one time. Anything else that was being done could have been from like a congruent group or somebody that does stuff just like us. But a lot of stuff that happens in the verse gets blamed on us, and it's not even our guys. Our org isn't that big, specifically.
So I have an unbiased opinion, if I was being really honest here. I don't really care on either side. I mean, I'm familiar with the whole situation, at least to my knowledge. But my opinion is, overall, with something like this, because obviously GrieferNet likes doing stuff like this. It's obvious. There's plenty of people that like doing the whole RP roleplay, a tour around Stanton and stuff like that. My opinion, is we need to zoom out a little bit bigger, that we're doing things like these, whether you like to grief everyone, kill anyone that you run across in the game, or you like to just sit on 890 sipping champagne, we're doing it in a very unpolished game. So
Yeah.
both
Correct.
sides
Yeah,
have
exactly.
to expect. Both sides have to expect. And I'm
Of
not
course.
really for either one of them. We just both have to expect. For example, all the people on the 890 better expect that there's probably going to be people that are going to try and ruin it for you. It's just how it is, because
Yeah.
they
Oh
enjoy
yeah,
that gameplay.
100%.
The other end of it, people, for example, GrieferNet or whoever else wants to do something like this, they're gonna have to expect that they're gonna piss off 30 people that are probably all going to literally scream and whine about it to the devs. So you have both sides of it. I don't really see a right or a wrong in the whole situation. I mean, for example, I know the fact that I was gonna say Eclipse, so I'm gonna try and say this correctly. Eclipse Torp was what, 12 kilometers? The travel
Yeah.
time was like 20 some seconds. Like
You wait for a
there's
while.
scenarios that there's always variables in everything, but the ultimate big picture is you want to have that kind of gameplay, you want to have that kind of interaction, that's fine. There's going to be two sides to it, and both of them are literally going to be at a conflict in a game that is completely unpolished.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
where I was
Yep.
trying to get to about this whole thing is that right now, servers are smaller, and as we move into these 6 or 400 people servers, 700 people servers, all of this is going to be a lot more relevant, and it's going to be a lot more difficult for people on both sides to complain about it. So, like, what's
It's
the
going to be a lot
future
more
going to look
common
like?
because of server mesh, and
Yeah,
you're going to have those
Yeah.
encounters more and more often, because you're going to
Yeah.
run into the same people
I
often
mean,
enough.
yeah, I feel like part of the whole meta gameplay and getting on somebody's server, it's kind of like a patch for how everybody's supposed to be together to begin with, right? And I mean, but I don't know. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. And the meta gameplay is going to happen, right? And then you
Yeah, of
have
course. It's going to be like
yeah.
EVE Online and all that kind of stuff. It's all
Yeah.
cool. Like for me, I've got like at the end of the day, I took a very I took more of a neutral stance about it. But the reason why I felt like more I wasn't like I said like a bunch of times. I said it on stream as well. I said, like I didn't have any problem like getting killed. Like I expect like you leave the hangar in Star Citizen, there's always a risk, right? There's always a
Yeah.
risk of interaction, there's always a risk of being killed, and you should prepare for it accordingly. What I didn't love was all the stuff that went along with it, right? And these guys, it just felt bad. I know that some people get joy from this, like joy from people feeling bad and making people feel bad, and that is the purpose. And whether you want to pretend it's about like something in the game and we're RPing as terrorists or whatever you want to say, right? At the end of the day, there was malice involved, and all the stuff that went along with it. Kill them in the game, no problem, no problem, no problem. It's all the other weird and stuff that went along with it, and ultimately just like it just killed these guys' soul. It just killed these guys' soul for no good reason. I mean, it could have been an educational experience, but it was just turned into this like
And I completely agree with you.
This horrible toxic situation that just spawned out of it. And
Yeah.
ultimately it was a decision that, came down to like, okay, is CIG going to take this broken thing that they've got currently and put some kind of enforcement on it to at least allow different experiences to be able to happen while we don't have fully fleshed out law enforcement, while we don't have fully fleshed out what is it like like standing systems or reputation systems or all that kind of stuff.
I understand
like
that
currently
portion.
there is no consequence. There's no consequence for torpedoing an 890 basically full of people. There's no consequence at all. It's pure.
And
everything in griefing is pure upside at the moment, right?
And it goes perfectly
And-
with what you said earlier, that sometimes life just sucks whether you prepare for it or not. And in their case, they
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
they prepared for it. They clearly didn't,
Yeah.
because I mean,
Nope.
we've all seen, well, most of us have seen, I'll say this, several of us have seen the footage. that there was so many, like, in a PvP mindset, if you're security and you know you may get into a PvP situation, there are numerous things you could have done. Numerous
Yeah.
things. But
Look,
again,
bless them.
I'm
Bless them. Bless their cotton socks. They
be-
wanted to do a nice thing.
And
I'll be honest with
Bless
you, I
their
didn't
cotton
like the
socks.
torpedo.
That was it. That was
was
it.
what was
They
supposed
just
to
wanted to be
happen.
nice.
The
but
torpedo
and it
wasn't
happened,
supposed
and
to
that's
happen.
fine.
Okay,
It
let's
was
pause this a
supposed to
second.
go different.
Yeah, let's hear this. So what was the plan, Defango? I'm kind of curious
yeah.
about this.
Yeah, what was the plan?
We actually had a huge group that wanted to board it. That's what we were planning on doing. Is we wanted you guys to be.
That's what we were hoping you would do. We all got. We
But
all were upset.
Somebody tossed
just
a
shot a
torpedo. Yeah, and I heard that. It was like you shot it from like 20 clicks away or whatever it was. And they were disappointed by the torp, for sure. I think everybody was. It's like the quickest, most boring ending ever, right?
Yeah, I know. That's pretty much my takeaway directly afterwards was I went straight to and there's footage of me even saying it on the GrieferNet YouTube, right? Because they made a video afterwards and the whole thing, blah 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 blah, right? So afterwards, there's like literally footage of me going to the captain and saying like, okay, this is what you could have done better. This is what you have to do for the next time. They've infiltrated your Discord. They're going to try and do it again. Next time you need to do this. Next time you need to do this. You need to store the ship. You need to do this. You need to do that. Like trying to help them. Because I know these things are going to happen. And like I said, I like PvP and PvP should happen, right? It should happen naturally. It should happen in the moment. It shouldn't be forced into, the game in any weird and wonderful way through Discord or whatever, right? But in my opinion, but I mean, everyone's going to be different, right? The meta, the behind the scenes, the espionage and whatever anyone else wants to call it. It's just people being sneaky and snaky and sneaky snake. But yeah, we were most disappointed that we didn't get like a better interaction out of it. If it would have just been so much better content, it would have been so much more fun. I think everyone would have had a better day if and it would have shown some real panache to have the pirates actually go on board and hold us all hostage, and
I would have been
involved in
sick.
a gunfight.
Yeah, that'd made for a cool video.
It would have been super cool. It would have been super cool, and I think you would have got a lot of respect for it, to be honest, because it would have been the first like big publicized piracy. I also don't think you should throw around the word the T word too much. I think
Terrorists?
I mean, maybe
that's what we are.
Yeah, it doesn't.
This man's hardcore, dude.
Okay.
No,
We're terrorists.
I do love this comment. The argument's always you attacked us unprovoked, but you never attack when we're prepared. That's exactly the point. That is the exact
You need
point.
to be
If you-
prepared. That is 100% the case. You
Thank
need to be
you.
prepared for those situations. Otherwise, that's going to be
I
your
think-
result.
It's the craziest.
It's-
It's the craziest thing. It's the
By the way,
craziest thing
I
for me
agree with
to.
that. Who said
Yeah.
who said that we're only supposed to
That
be
was
prepared?
Frank.
Bringing it up.
I mean, this is going off the
27
comment.
said, the argument is
Mhm.
always you attack us unprovoked, but never you attack us. But we were prepared.
Oh, I didn't see the
Okay.
but. Okay.
Oh, but
So
yep.
Oh.
Oops,
So-
my bad.
Well, yeah,
So-
yeah.
and-
They thought they were prepared, basically. But the thing is
again,
that it's very difficult. It's very difficult to prepare for, like, I guess, like what are the depths that people will go? Like getting on the Discord and being someone's friend and pretending and getting an invite and buying the ticket and doing the whole like. I don't think people realize like how. I don't want to say low because I mean like it's possible to do it, right? It's gameplay, okay.
mhm.
But like I don't think people are prepared for that. People feel like some people think like people are better than that or like whatever. But they're not, right? I mean, we're gaming. We're gamers, dude. We'll hack a head off and say, F you, bitch. Like we don't care, right? So I get it. I get the gamer mentality.
Could have easily like done something like hiring an actual PvP org to do
That's-
different
yeah.
Oh, they
content.
tried.
Just saying.
Yeah,
Did
they
they?
tried.
Did they
So-
try?
Well, it's-
Yeah, they
Yeah.
tried.
Did
they
still
have-
got-
so
still
they-
got
Vanguard?
griefed.
I thought they had
So they-
Vanguard. They were just
I don't know.
30 million away or something.
Exactly. You can't RP being prepared. That's exactly what I'm trying to get to. They thought they were prepared. It was like hiring the Boy Scouts to come and protect
But
you.
wait a minute.
If we can watch that kind of a video and see everything that happened, And every real PvP or people that love actually getting good at being competitive in ship-to-ship combat can look at that video and pause it 30 times going, they should have done this, they should have done that, this, that.
Yeah.
And let's say it's all hindsight, right? It's all hindsight. The simple fact that you had enough time to react in multiple ways also shows the lack of experience in that situation. So what I'm saying is, I love watching people whine and complain when they get destroyed because they're soloing a huge multi-crew ship, get destroyed, or pull out of the hangar with no shields completely up yet, and then they start to put up their navigation and figure out where they're going to go. Things like that drive me crazy, because all they want to do is think that, oh, because I am now in my ship, no one should shoot me unless I shoot them first. That's not how the verse works. That's probably not how it's ever going to work.
But that's an extreme. I mean, look, you're using an extreme example of like the people that like are in their, their C2s or whatever, taken off from the mining bases.
That's not extreme in my opinion.
Right?
That's extremely common.
That's like every day.
It's common. It's common. But I mean, we're talking about the nuance of like people that are prepared, but like, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background and a lot of use of the the server hopping mechanics and all this kind of stuff. I mean, look at like the server stuff. Like look at and power to them. The platinum event. Like the platinum event turned into such a shit show because the devs were just getting swamped by the same groups over and over and over, getting on the same servers to the point that they got frustrated. And they almost wanted to cancel the damn thing because, what was it? Cutlet and the crew ended up getting on the same server like 1 billion times. And some people had never even seen the event. I mean, it's just kind of like cheesing those mechanics, like people that what is it, bedlog near the places where the C2s usually spawn, and then like multiple guys go on multiple servers, find the C2 for the content, and then just bedlog in and then just swamp them. It's just cheesy shit like that. Like it's called PvP, right? We call it PvP because at some point there's a PvP engagement and somebody gets shot. But like the circumstances around it, it's just like meh. It's just
it's unpolished. That's what that is. Now you did use an event as an example, and it was, in all intents and purposes, a shit show. But putting the event aside, sitting and camping and doing stuff like that, that's just unpolished gameplay, which is allowing people that love that kind of we'll say experience. Looking at you, Defango, and then you have other people that are just literally spawning in or just want their ship, or I was poking fun. So it's the scenario that you're dealing with, a very unpolished scenario.
Yeah.
And people can take advantage of it.
I do want to backtrack a little bit. So it sounds to me though they were much better prepared on the FPS front in the security there, but they were very ill prepared on when it came to the actual like protection of the ship itself. Yeah.
Look,
so it's like they had half of their bases covered.
In the background, I told them multiple times, like, you are going to be targeted. Be careful of this, be careful of that. Don't, everyone's going to have to empty their friends list. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. I made them as aware as possible. But at the end of the day, they just wanted, like, they had so many guys that just
say their plan sucked.
Yeah, their plan sucked. Of course it did.
No, she wouldn't be afraid to say that, though. I know how.
Right, I'm not afraid. Yeah. I told them to their face. Like I told them, like people pretend like I live in some kind of like weird bubble where like I'm just like like this. It's just bullshit. Like I'm a logical thinking human being who can see both sides. I can see both sides, but I also know what a dick move is. Like, and I'm not afraid to like call it out. Right? Sometimes it's just like, okay, if you're going to grief someone off a game who just literally wants to do one good thing, like they just want to do one good thing, it's just, sometimes it just gets like, I think a lot of the community would agree, like just sometimes it just gets exhausting. It just gets exhausting, and we just go like, oh, for God's sake, like it's already broken enough. It can already be shit enough as is. Just let us do one damn good thing in the verse one time. And, to fair play to them, we managed to do something. Eventually, I was able to stream it and show actually what these guys were capable of doing. And they did something. I just have to say that the guys who made the experience, they were lovely guys. I don't think they deserved the grief, although it is in the game and you can do it, and it was PvP and it was valid, blah, 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 right? Okay. But as far as like them being good dudes, them actually providing a cool experience, and those, and I went on it, and we had the music and we had the tour and we had the whole thing, and those guys were just really genuinely cool dudes. And you know what? If it makes people feel good to have made them feel shit and made them quit, then take it and go. Take it and go and enjoy it and let it hug you at night. But yeah, I just like the idea that maybe sometimes a good thing can happen, you know, regardless of whether PvP is legitimate or not. Sometimes it's cool to just, you know, have a good time, you know, chill out, have a good time, and all get together and enjoy. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
That's just me being overly positive and overly, you know, I don't know. Yeah. It's never gonna happen. We're just gonna shoot everything that moves. I know.
I mean, I will say this though. I definitely could have, like, if even, and we're small, but even if we were approached and asked, what can we do to make sure that we don't get attacked from the outside, we could have easily stopped that talk from happening. And honestly, you can keep the fighters around busy enough with somebody assigned to watch out for torps, somebody on some sort of gunship, like ready on standby to stop torps from hitting the ship itself. Now I know there's desync, but there's definitely a lot of things that we could have done, even just pointers on how to protect it, right? You know, things like having their quantum drive ready to go with their next jump point already ready to go, or something like that, even, right? Just there's many things that could have been done, and if they would have even asked us, and again, we're small, but we definitely could have helped stop that from happening. And I'm not saying that we would have came through.
At the end of the day, there's also a choice being made in the background. You know, are we gonna do it or aren't we gonna do it? You know, but I just feel like in Star Citizen, the choice is always going to be yes. We are going to shoot the laser at the thing, and we're all going to watch it go boom. And there's nothing we're ever going to be able to do about it. So anybody that you know, and again, I'll reiterate it a billion times. We all will. There is going to be nothing you guys can do, because somebody else's fun might not be your fun, but they are going to have their fun whether you like it or not. Okay, I say it to my chat all the time. By the way,
exactly.
You know, a lot of people say, like, you know, they try and put me in the don't like PvP camp, wants to just RP around. What's it? You know,
I want to cut you off on that, because I just want to say I remember watching one of her streams, and she got killed by somebody, and then the chat started talking about, oh, it's a stream sniper, and she started going off. She was like, oh, just because PvP happened, all of a sudden it's a stream sniper, blah, blah, blah. She's like, it's a PvP happened. So she's not wrong. I've definitely seen her go off on her own chat about it.
Yeah, but Defango did kill me one time, and it was under extremely suspicious circumstances. I'm not gonna say anything, but like it was super sus. It was super sus, and that's for him to know, and he can keep it to his chest, and you know it is what it is.
I saw you and I killed you. I was like, this is gonna be hilarious.
I know that. I know that I may have been stream sniped by a certain group of people. It was hilarious because I was flying outside of our corp. Oh, go ahead. All right, please.
Yeah, I just want to very quickly say, just to end that. So I always go. I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I always say, guys, let's just clip it. We'll take the name, and then we'll put it in the report and whatever. You know what? I never put the report. I never do it.
Oh, they all know.
What a shitter, dude.
Yeah,
I
never do it. I never do it. You know, because you know what? I think even however obvious it can be, you know, like you said, we're not playing in a game that's like, you know, like super it's broken, right? We're playing in a broken game. And ultimately, like, there's always a chance. Like, there's always, even if it's a 10% chance, you know, or a 5% chance that it wasn't like forced PvP or forced gameplay, then which is what I refer to stream sniping. I just say it's like forced gameplay. It's forced interaction. Even if it wasn't forced interaction, there's always a chance that it wasn't. So, you know, I don't want to put somebody's account on the line for, you know, a % chance. And that's just me. You know, you can hate me for not reporting if you want, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is.
I just look at it as CIG. has so much
Yep.
work already to do. Why are we gonna make them waste time with more work?
We had this conversation, I think, with
Yeah,
it
with
was
Sfer.
Xylo that actually popped in,
Yeah.
and like Sfer was there as well for that
It
one.
was very productive though. It was a good
Hmm.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I would say that look, at the end of the day, like I would just say that like if you know jumping on the server and all that kind of stuff, that's all good, but I mean, the only thing I would ever ask is that just don't look at the stream, because I can't look at anybody else's screen, right? So I would
Hmm.
just love to have like a decent, you know, even if I die, I don't give a shit, right? But just a decent, like, non-forced, genuine interaction is what I'm looking for more than anything in the verse. I think every single person that plays Star Citizen is hoping that like the comms is on, you can have the interaction, you can shoot at each other, and like, you know, and there's like a bit of a GG in the chat or whatever. I think we all hope for that. If it has to be forced, then you know it's not as it's not about the content. It's just about the fun. Like I play
Yeah.
games for fun, right?
That kind of goes along with what I had pinned earlier that River said about he honestly wants to see more RP events being protected by sweats, and also trying to still get grief by GrieferNet or whoever else wants to do that kind of gameplay. That
Because
right there
we're always
is
looking for
fun.
that kind of action, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
we run
You know?
around as CS5s, because
We
we're
want people to come to us, yeah,
if
essentially.
I'm a bounty hunter and I'm chasing somebody that doesn't really want PvP, I'm just going to be chasing them for the next 3 hours all over the system until they log out at Grimhex. That's all I'm going to do. So why are
Aurora
we a bounty hunter?
Rangers. Come
So
The
on.
Aurora Rangers.
so so that's why we're always CS5s, is because then we have the fight coming to us, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
there's
that's
this.
Oh, and can I
Please
just
go
quickly
ahead.
say, hey Carl, hey Carl,
Yeah,
when's
I
my
see
song,
Carl.
Carl? When's my song? He's making a song apparently. Oh God.
I'm sorry, Finger,
Yeah,
you were gonna say something.
Carl used to be in GrieferNet. He's not in
He did,
GrieferNet
yeah.
Oh yeah,
anymore.
yeah, I
He's
know.
Vox
I
now,
know.
or what? Pax Vox? I don't know how that shit
Vox, yeah,
works.
Vox Mortis, I believe.
He's Max Portis?
Max Portis, right?
Max, yeah, he's Max Portis.
Max Portis?
Yeah,
Is
he's
that
Max
what he
Portis
is?
now.
Oh, he's
Mhm.
Max Portis now.
Yeah, Max Portis is a really good pilot.
Yeah, he's amazing.
If you ever see him,
Suspicion.
just unload everything you have on him,
Feel like
because
him
he's
being out of
really
here?
good.
Oh, I did. I did.
I do want to throw something in too about like the whole stream sniping thing. I'm kind of like on the fence with it, because I understand as you have streamers that get rather large, it like the reason why you would have that against terms of service is because of the fact that it could become so like stifling. It's some of these people that it's almost becomes like it's a second income. It's like a kind of a business, right? And if people are consistently coming in and destroying that stream, right, then that's actually affecting them in a lot of ways, right? So I can understand. So me personally, I like when I'm streaming, I'll be like, oh, come stream snipe me, right? I'm looking for a good fight. That's different. But like I could see how it could be a bit stifling for somebody who's trying to put on some form of a entertainment, and they have such a high viewership where it may become very stifling because there's so many people coming to snipe them.
For me, it's not about that. Like maybe for some, but for me, it's just about there's nothing I don't like. Even if somebody comes over to me like in a nice way and like nicely stream snipes me and like brings me a pico or something, it drives me mad because it's fake. Like it's like no, I wanted a real interaction. You're a knower. No, they know.
They bring you
But,
a
like,
pico though.
yeah, like you know, I just like the more realistic, or not realistic, we're in a game, but like the more
Game.
genuine the interaction, the better. You know, the more genuine the better, in my opinion. Like that's all I really crave anyway, is to have a genuine interaction where like you go in the comms and you get in that situation, and if they give you a pico, then they gave you a pico because like, you know, hey, like you know, I don't know. Yeah, anyway.
I
You
like
have
to
any-
feel like all of our interactions are very genuine, and we try to make them as organic as possible, because we want it to be like, oh my god, these guys are showing up. What are we gonna do? Because we're looking for to fight. We want
Yeah, but
people
it's
to
like,
come after us and fight us.
oh, big surprise, it's them again. Like it's always you guys. Like
Like, big
if it's always you guys, it becomes like a bit of a pattern, doesn't it? Like it's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna get griefed again. You know, it is what it is. Same guys, yeah, same guys, same
Yeah,
guys.
but
Okay.
eventually
Get
you'll
the
beat us, right?
fighters.
Eventually you'll beat
Well,
us, won't you? Maybe one day.
Well, the thing is that the game is against that. Right now, the game is not made for us beating you or whatever it is. There's so, like I
Again,
said, there's so many
unpolished.
things that can be done. Yeah, it's unpolished at the moment. There's so many things on your side that, like, I mean, just a torp and go, and well, there goes the event. You know, it is what it is. But
There's a whole
but
lot
look,
of you, and there's a little bit of us. You know, like
Yeah, but
we're the underdogs
so I will
here,
definitely
not you.
argue. I will definitely argue though that there's no real loss, right? So there's more loss for the people who want to actually live and continue doing their event than there is for the guy who doesn't give a shit if he flies up and blows up on your ship by just ramming into you, right? So you guys don't care if you die at all because it doesn't affect anything. So in that respect, I can understand where she's coming from because the game doesn't offer any
We are
loss.
the
It doesn't
swarm.
matter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you die, right? And at some point there's going to be that repercussion, but right now it doesn't matter. So you guys have very little to lose, and you're having a blast. Where them, it's like even though I don't take part in it. I'm just saying, but even though they do these things, they're losing their whole event out of it. You know what I mean? And you guys don't care if you lose a life. So that's what's going to be considered there, is that the game isn't set up for there for it to matter. Somebody runs into a ship and blows up and nobody cares because they just respawn and
yeah, I
come
mean,
back.
like the thing is that like after the fact, it gets like paraded as this like massive victory thing, right? This victory thing. But what did anybody actually do? They literally just like, oh, yeah, I blew up another thing, but like zero consequence, right? There's no death of a spaceman. There's no nothing. Like but that's what Ender's saying, is that there's no consequence. So
People got
like,
7-day
I don't see it.
bans. That was a consequence.
Well, yeah, in that case,
Yeah,
that's a loss of life right there.
well,
Yeah,
there
that
you
was
go.
a loss. You
There
know,
you go.
like that's real consequences. So
But that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is
days
that
of no Star Citizen. Ah, I can't
I
play
just played
Star
Rust.
Citizen.
that goes back
I have to go outside. What is this?
that goes back to exactly what I was saying, is because it's unpolished, and on the griefer side of things, you knew you were going to kill or attempt to take out 30 players, so you know that there's going to be a massive influx of complaints against a specific group or specific people. So you have to also be expecting that as the griefer too. It's not just one-sided, but it's both sides. Like, so as long as you're still willing to take that on, then that's, technically your cost in it. But you also have to fully expect, there might be some bans that are going to get thrown around because of this. And you have to actually have the foresight
Yeah,
to
I just
expect that.
I wish you guys embraced it. I wish you
Have it
guys
all.
embraced it and wore it as a badge of honor. But instead, like, there was this like really whiny video that was made, which was a shame, really. It was a shame.
was it
I feel like
whiny,
Expat's
or
griefing
was
you
it
right now.
was it our expert media team using parody to utterly emasculate the entire situation? Because that's what I feel like it really was, is that our crack media team put together various videos to elicit responses and emotions from people, because that's what we're all about. Regardless of how we get the emotions or whatever happens, emotions did flow, and that's what we were looking for. That's
But
why
you
we have the
see,
happy and sad
that's
thing.
where
The
that's where the
theater.
weirdness comes in. See, that's where the weirdness comes in, and that's where you lose everyone. When you're talking about affecting people's emotions and making people feel like shit. That's where you guys, unfortunately, like you were talking about, what can we do to make the community this, that, and the other? That's where you lose the community right there. It's the
Well,
it's
aren't
the
you
malice.
trying to
It's
get
the,
emotion out
it's
of
the
the
reason.
community? Is it like what you're saying right now, supposedly eliciting a
Yeah, but
specific
I
type
don't
of
do it.
emotion?
But I don't do it by shitting on people and wanting
But
to make them feel
we're
shit.
not just doing it about shitting on people, and that's not our goal,
You
is
just
to
said
make people
that.
feel like shit.
You just said
What
that.
I said was that we wanted to
You
have
just said the
emotion,
crack media
and you
team. You
went
just said the
to
crack media team, did this to elicit emotion. What emotion
Yeah.
was the crack media team supposed to elicit?
of various a myriad of emotions. There's supposed to be good, happy
Oh,
feelings,
come
sad,
on.
happy
You can't
feelings,
have
fun,
your
happy
cake.
feelings.
You can't have your cake and eat it too. Just choose a side. You're like
Well,
this
I'm
game. It can't
sorry,
decide what it
but
wants to be.
this
Choose a
is
side
what I
and stick
want.
to it.
This is my LARP. And
God.
you know what? That's the way it goes. You know, everybody has
Pick a side.
their idea
If
of
you
what
want
they
to be
want
the
to do,
bad
and
guy,
I know
if
what's
you want to be
right.
the bad guy,
I'm a
be the bad
terrorist.
guy.
I
I'm a
can't. I
Okay,
terrorist.
well,
can't
be the
imagine.
bad guy then.
I can't imagine being the guy and self-proclaimed terrorist that also just literally defended myself by saying I also want to put out positive vibes and happy feelings too. So that's
Come
a
on, man.
pretty ass defense if I'm gonna
That's why
if
it's
I'm gonna
funny.
be real with you.
That's why it's funny. Because it's supposed
Okay.
to
Sure.
make you remember it's a game. You know, if you guys want to LARP and do whatever it is that you want to do, I guess our people can do the same thing. And sure, our justifications are going to be very strange, but you know what? They're still valid, maybe just to
So
us.
I do have a very important question for everyone here, including chat. So will Star Citizen feel too casual?
I feel
Always
like
has
it's going to
been.
be.
It's going to
It-
be, I think so, but it's hard
Always
to
has
say.
been.
Always
I
has
know.
been, yeah.
Yeah, I know we do have to wrap it up, but I
We do,
definitely,
yeah. I
I
was just gonna
definitely
say.
want to jump in there and say that, like, I've always kind of like been in between about it because I'm not like against meta. I'm not against them going and ruining events even. I'm not. I'm really not. But I do want to see the actual, like, there's a repercussion and there's a, like, they're not just going to go out and just be able to fling themselves at people. I want to see it where they have to go about it, where they have to use legitimate tactics. Not that you don't, but you got to use legitimate tactics that aren't going to cost lives and ships, because money matters, lives matter within the game. Like, that's what I'm looking for in this game, and it's not there yet. And that's why, like, these situations
Mhm.
suck. And that's how I feel
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, for both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, well-
Anybody else want to wrap up any comments or whatever before we move along?
I think we're set to go. So I'm going to I'm going to say thank you again, Defango, for joining us. It was a very
Absolutely,
good conversation,
man.
by the way. dude.
Seriously.
Yeah, dude, it was a
Much
blast
love, you
having you
guys.
here. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
It's
Brad.
been interesting. And hey, Brett, no hard feelings or whatever.
No, never. Come on, man. Like, it's, at the end of the day, it's just a game, dude. I mean, it is what it is.
Exactly.
Unpolished game. Broken game.
Unpolished.
Yeah.
Broken game,
Okay.
mate.
It is what
It's
it
a broken
is.
game.
Yeah.
And it's
Pretty
too
much.
casual. It's only going to get more casual.
All right, I can't. So, is the YouTube video going to say we got grief by GrieferNet? No.
Who knows?
You might have.
Okay.
Oh,
We'll get you later,
there'll
Defango.
be clips of me. I'm pretty sure I'm secretly on their their crack content generation team.
Okay. With that being said,
That's me, by the way.
I'm
I'm the
gonna
editor.
say
I make
good
all
night.
those videos, and then yeah.
I'm going to say good
So,
night to Defango, and then we're going to wrap up there, just because we are cutting to about
Have we
3
got
hours now.
no other callers?
No other callers as
Oh.
far as I know.
No, he
Oh my
really
God,
wanted to talk
guys.
to us. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate him coming in here. You guys had
Yeah,
a good
absolutely.
conversation, I think.
yeah. And it's
all right.
good to hear the different aspects. That's what I like.
It is. It is. Before we take off, I just want to make sure that we get another shout out.
Oh, we got Flaro.
We do have Flaro.
Oh, he
gonna
just
get a
dipped
shout
out.
really quick.
Oh, he got scared.
Okay. All right. Let me get a shout out for both your YouTube and your Twitch channels there as well. Just want to give you guys a reminder that this episode will be on YouTube and Spotify in the next week. And just a huge shout out and appreciation to you, Expat, for joining us. It was a great conversation tonight. Really appreciate
I'm also
you.
going to link
Yeah, I had
her
a good time.
Discord as well here.
Yeah, please do. That'd be awesome.
All right, there we go.
I had a good time. I had a good time through the whole thing, and
Yeah.
it was really fun to talk to everyone, and like, let's man, I hope more people start tuning in and listening to what the quote unquote PvP community, who are all in the basement, who are all the Swannies, who are all the griefers and all this. I hope people start to actually start to take every voice, and I mean every voice, seriously when it comes to this stuff, because it's all very well coming from me, and I do try and tell people as often as possible, like, when you leave your hangar, you are not safe. You need to plan. You need to prepare. You know, no one is out there to make sure that you have a good time. You have to make your way in the verse. The verse is going to be a tough place, and I hope that more podcasts like this, more guys like you, and you know, more people come and interact with you on like your streams and everything, and try and figure out like, how are they going to survive? Like, what did they have to do? What did they have to change? How can they learn to become better Star Citizen players? And
Yeah.
because they're going to need it. They're going to need it in future.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to.
Oh, who are we
Say-
reading to? Oh,
We
wait,
should
go ahead.
rate
I'm sorry. You're
someone.
gonna
If
say
you guys have
something.
any? No, I was gonna say if you guys have any recommendations, by all means, or expat, if there's someone that you know that is online, please by all means.
Oh,
shout them out
let's have
so
a
I can
look.
send you guys
Let's
over to
have a
somebody.
look. Let's have a look. So I'm guessing ideally somebody playing Star Citizen, right?
Star Citizen and maybe PvP if we can go that route, just because we've been trying to keep it to that kind of, you know, part of the verse.
Star Citizen and PvP. Damn,
I do have a buddy
you know
that's
what?
on, but it's up to you guys.
Yeah, why don't you go for your buddy? Because I don't have any PvPers on at the moment. I do have a
Okay.
racer, and I do have we've got Yo-Yo, we've got Dad Bod Nerd, who I've never watched. Well, I have no, I
You know
have
what,
watched
let's-
Dad Bod.
I didn't
I
see
have
that
watched
Yo-Yo
Dad
Meg's
Bod.
on. Let's send you guys over to
And
Yo-Yo
Yo-Yo's
Meg.
on?
She's pretty chill. You know, she'd be really fun.
Skyborn's
I think.
also on. He's cool. He does low flying and stuff. And
Yeah.
there's all kinds of cool people. I've got so many people in the list.
Here,
So
yeah,
you
let's
guys
send you guys
choose.
over to Yo-Yo Meg. We'll do that.
Guys,
Alright.
don't forget
You
to like and subscribe on the video. Griefers Pub. When do you guys usually send out your videos or stream?
It's going to be out this Friday for both of those platforms. So really excited.
Okay,
to
so
get those
every
out there.
Friday, guys, every Friday, tune into Griefers Pub, and make sure that you follow them on Discord, and that you like and subscribe.
You heard it from her.
Have a good night,
Again,
guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Later,
Thank you
guys.
very much, everybody, for joining. And
Second.
again, thank you very much, Expat. Just kidding.